Good evening and welcome to episode 44 of the Tales of Sigmar podcast. As always, I'm your host Chalmers, and alongside me is Martin. Good evening, Martin.
Good evening, Chalmers, and how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. And yourself?
Not too bad. Very excited by all the new news.
Yeah, I'm still kind of coming down from Saturday, I think. There was a little thing announced on Saturday, so I'm sure we'll probably touch on it a little bit.
Minor update, just a minor.
Just a little tweak here and there. No, of course, the past week has been Warhammer Fest, and we are in this episode talking all things AOS because obviously we are a AOS podcast. And I suppose probably the big news is AOS 3 is coming.
Yes, it's a mystery, but it's not a mystery anymore.
No, so yeah, Saturday was. We had Monday, which was an AOS day, which we will be covering later on in the episode and going through the reveals from that in the second part of the episode. But Saturday was down as a mystery day, and there was lots of talk. Everyone was going, oh, AOS 3, and then people were going, oh, it's going to be a Plastic Chorus Heresy new box. Then others were going Battlefleet Gothic. I think they were just wish listing.
I do. I think the one that, the Battlefleet Gothic and the Epic one I kind of was maybe thinking could be true because I think Titanicus has been a real success. Yeah. So, expanding that out into a new version of Epic could have happened. And then there was some pretty, what I thought, strong chances that it was going to be Plastic Heresy.
I was kind of certain that it was going to be that. As much as I wanted it to be AOS 3, I was like, it's going to be Plastic Heresy because there was no mention of Heresy throughout the whole entire week. So I was like, kind of makes sense. And they previewed that new model a few weeks ago that looked kind of plastic, with the details. So I was like, yeah, it's probably going to be a plastic kit. But AOS 3 came out, and our WhatsApp group kind of went a bit mental.
Yes. Most of the WhatsApp groups on AOS went pretty crazy at the time, didn't they?
Bonkers. My wife was whinging at me because I was making some very strange noises coming out of the man cave.
Fair enough.
And I think I was still buzzing for the rest of the night. I had D&D in the evening, and I couldn't really focus on that because I just kept on thinking about the new models and everything. So, what do we know so far about AOS 3? The Stormcast are getting reforged.
Yes.
I suppose you could probably say it's not a new version of AOS without Sigmar opening up another chamber or a.
But is this a new chamber? Because it's not, from what I can see. And that was the big surprise, wasn't it? We were all expecting, and he's now going to open up chamber number.
Yeah.
And he didn't. He just said, right, I'll just give him some new armour instead.
Yeah, so apparently the lore is that Sigmar is working with Grungi, the god of makers, and obviously a dwarf from the old world time.
Yep, what in?
And they are making something called Thunderstrike Armour. And Thunderstrike Armour is a lot more slimmer and kind of lean. They look like they've lost some weight, which...
Yeah, with a name like Thunderstrike Armour, I must admit that it was, in my head, it would have been more like the second one that we saw, which was...
The Annihilators, yeah.
Yeah, and that to me is what I would have thought Thunderstrike Armour looked like.
Like heavy armour and... Yeah.
Yeah, but you're right, it's actually a lot slimmer down and more... potentially more realistic, should we say?
Yeah, it looks a bit more proportionate. I'm getting a bit annoyed on Facebook seeing everyone going, "Oh, it's Primaris Stormcast." It's not. They look exactly the same size. They just look slimmer. They're not.
Yeah,
they're not bigger. They're not.
What my issue with that is, my issue with it is that Space Marines fundamentally, over the course of 20 odd years, changed maybe 4 times.
Yeah.
Right, and then they had this massive upgrade to Primaris. Stormcast have had new releases. How long's AOS now? 5 and a bit years. We've probably had 4 years of new releases for Stormcast with new models doing this, that, and the other.
Yeah, you had the initial launch, you had the Vanguard launch, you've had, I suppose you could say the Extremist Chamber, but then they weren't really a separate, like the Star Drake and Fulminators and things, but that was kind of right at the beginning. It was just an additional bit. You've got the
Sacrosanct?
The what was
the
that?
Sacrosanct?
Yeah, the Sacrosanct, which was obviously the start of the Soul Wars, so AOS version 2. And that's it. So, yeah, there's
3, maybe 4.
Yeah,
you know, it's not a surprise, is it, that you would have new Stormcast models? No. Anybody who sat there going, "Oh, I didn't see that coming," really?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, yeah, you may want plastic so-and-so models for your army, but when it's a new version of AOS, Stormcast are going to be... I mean, they even said it on the Twitch. I think it was Adam Troke said it, that they're the poster boys, and they are the poster boys. They're
on the posters. They're the same as Space Marines.
They are the big things. They're going to be the focus when you get a new edition. I mean, I love them. I don't see any complaints of it. I mean, I own many armies, and do some armies need new models? Yes. Do I care that Stormcast get new models? Not at all, because these models are beautiful.
Yes, and it doesn't mean that the models you have become obsolete.
No.
And I don't doubt there will be some existing models that will get fantastic rules. There will be some existing models that will probably not get fantastic rules.
Yes.
That's just the reality.
That's the thing. Yeah, that was a chat in our group. In our wargaming group, Newcastle Warlords, we had someone who just started playing Stormcast. Went, "Oh, that's all my old models, like obsolete." And it's like, well, it's not, because you look at Stormcast lists now, you still see Liberators, you see Lord Relictors, you see Judicators.
Yeah.
You see all these models from the very first start of the game. So it's not at all. It's just adding extra options. So I can't wait to see them. Like, see the rest of the Stormcast models that are coming. So we saw, like we said, and we've touched on it a little bit, we saw 2 kind of normal troops, almost. We saw the Vindicators, which are the ones in Thunderstrike armour. They've got spears and heavy shields. And they look awesome. They showed a few different images of different storm hosts in different poses as well. And it definitely looks like you can get some really cool poses with them. So,
yeah, because the one that they originally showed was quite static and
just kind of men at arms.
Thing of like, well, is that really what you do in the middle of the battlefield? But then when they went through the other ones, there are some very dynamic poses that you can do. So I'm looking forward to seeing some of these and what people do with them.
100%. Like, I think you're going to see some cool. They touched on it a little bit about like the ranks of like shields with spears over the top, and then almost a bit like the Lumineth wardens, whereabouts they've got the huge spears, and you can kind of rank them up so they're almost not turtle shells, but you know what I mean, like that kind of very militaristic front row, second row, etc. So yeah, they're kind of, I assume they're going to be the kind of core troops for this version.
Yes.
Kind of the Liberators or the Sequitors of AOS version 3. And then we saw the big beast, the Annihilator. And the Annihilator is a new generation of Paladins. So the Paladins are the Retributors, Protectors, and Decimators. And these are new guys who have a 2+ save. 2+ save Stormcast, which is something that I think a lot of people have been asking for, because they are meant to be these huge hunking great fighters that can tackle on armies by themselves. So 2+ save. They've got these huge shields and a big hammer, which apparently when you charge they do lots of mortal wounds and get really powered up. So
it's the way it should be. I mean, like, without going too far down the rabbit hole, they're the Terminators, aren't they? Like,
yes.
if you're going to make that comparison, then I think they look right. I'm intrigued to see what size base they're on.
Yeah, I probably expect they'll be on 40mm, a bit like the other paladins.
Yeah.
I don't think they would be on anything bigger, because even on the 40mm base, like the current paladins, you still get quite a bit of space on him. So putting a bigger dude on there is probably the.
It looks like he fills the space pretty well. So yeah.
So we saw those two. Those were the kind of two teasers of the kind of normal troops, but then we saw a special character. I knew I was going to muck this up straight away. Yndrasta, the Celestial Spear.
I'll take your word on the pronunciation.
I practiced this so many times before the show. Yndrasta, I think it is. She looks amazing. Like, I think you're going to see this entry in Golden Demon quite a bit.
I can see that this is going to be a painter's dream. Absolutely.
Yeah. So she is the Celestial Spear. She's been basically described as having the same kind of power as a Celestant Prime in regards to kind of that being one of the Stormcast kind of secret weapons that they can unleash.
There's many in our group that know what the Prime can do.
Yes. The Celestant Prime is a glass hammer. I mean, I love using
Very
him,
much
but
so.
Yeah, he drops down. He normally kills the biggest threat on the board, and then he dies the next turn. But
yeah,
hopefully she's a bit more survivable. She's apparently known as a monster hunter, so I expect she'll get some sort of bonus against anything with a monster keyword.
Yeah, and I think that's it. That was an interesting hint there when they mentioned around that for what's to come.
Yes, yeah, for the adversaries maybe that they're going to be fighting. And apparently she's been reforged lots of times. And with Stormcast, as they get more reforged, they kind of lose more of their mental prowess, so to speak. So apparently she's willing to do stuff that's kind of questionable to a lot of Stormcast. She's willing to kind of not bend the rules a little bit, but
so is she an individual character then?
Yes.
Or is this like the primes where there's a set of what is it, 12 primes?
Primes?
Yeah.
What, Celestant Prime?
Yeah, or is that a single one? I thought that was there were a group of them.
It's a group of No, I'm pretty sure Celestant Prime's just a
single person.
Unique person.
Okay.
Because he wields Galmaraz, so you can't have multiple Galmarazes on the table. Like not in the tabletop, but I mean in the in the world, in the world.
Fair enough.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure she's like a complete unique character.
Right.
Whether we see some similar troops to her, because she's got these big wings that are kind of built into her, rather than kind of the prosecutors that are the ones that came in the very first set, along with like the Venator and the Knight of Zeros, whereabouts they've got the kind of very mechanical style wings that are kind of built into a backpack, and they're kind of like shards, whereas this is kind of proper feathers. So whether we see extra troops that are kind of in the same vein and can kind of support her, maybe. But yeah, she is an absolutely stunning model.
My only issue with the model is the base.
Yeah.
It feels like she stood on top of a crumbling staircase, and I just think she could have been like, you look at the model without the base, it looks absolutely stunning, but then with the base, there's just something that for me doesn't quite fit.
I know what you mean, but
can
the
you
way
imagine
she's posed there, I think it would be very easy to replace that base.
Yeah, that was what I was going to say. I can imagine seeing lots and lots of versions of her on slightly different.
Yeah. So the base is apparently to tie in with whoever the enemies are for the new version. So they said it's a kind of hint of what's happening. We don't know who it is. There's been rumours of who it is, and they did a little teaser video that was a kind of like an animated video of some troops going into the woods or into the mire, and basically they started disappearing in the fogs and the mists, and then it said a new breed of evil emerges. So yeah, be interesting to see if it is a completely brand new army, a brand new faction.
I think it will be. I think
it makes sense.
It makes sense for it to be a brand new one. They're, if you look at what they've done so far with AOS, they've continually pushed the story and they've continually pushed into new areas. We know from what they mentioned in this that Kragnos is going to play a major part in this.
Yes.
They mentioned, and we'll talk about the map in a minute, but basically this is all happening in Gur, Realm of Beasts. It's been relatively unexplored from a story perspective up to now, so we don't really know what's happening in there. If you think of Gur and you think of the Realm of Shadow, they're two relatively unexplored realms. That we just don't really know what's there, and I think that kind of gives them an opportunity to either introduce a brand new race or to revive an older race, shall we say? Yes. And
I know what you mean. Yeah, like to kind of do what they started doing of taking one or two. Sylvaneth, a massive example. Let's take the Tree Lord and the Dryads, and let's just create a whole entire new race full of brand new models.
Yeah.
They could take one or two that are kind of lambering behind in a... Like, I'm just trying to think of one off the top of my head that would probably... would fit in there, and I can't think of one. But, yeah, I know what you mean. Like, they kind of just go, right, okay, here's a brand new race that's kind of based on that. I saw a lot of people talking about Thermir, that were kind of a Forge World unit, and there was meant to be a big release for them a little while ago. They previewed a few things at like one of the Forge World open world days, and then it's
disappeared,
all gone the way of the dodo, and everyone's talking, oh, maybe it's that. But the fact that it says a new breed of evils, like I said, says to me that it's going to be a brand new faction with new stuff. There's been rumours that it's something called the Silent People that have been mentioned quite a bit in Underworlds, in a lot of the cards and the lore in there. And
they did mention that Beastgrave is on that map, isn't it?
So that might tie in, and they've got artwork on there as well, which are like these kind of almost like kind of insect style skull-headed people almost. If that's the best way of describing it.
I haven't seen the artwork, so I'll take.
They look a little bit weird. But yeah, there's a lot of artwork for it as well, which is a bit strange because, like I say, if this is a brand new race, it's not going to be something like that, then you think, well,
when's that coming out?
Yeah. So no one knows yet. It's all...
The other rumour that I'd seen that was interesting was that it was basically going to be hobgoblins.
I saw that. It would tie in with the Beastgrave launch of the Wolf Riders, because that was a really random launch.
It was, and if you notice, that was one of the very few launches I've seen recently from Games Workshop that felt like there was more positivity than negativity.
Yes.
Like the only negativity around that was, why are there not more?
That is true.
So potentially, and we've said for a while that are they doing these releases of these box sets to see what the reaction is, and if it's a positive, they fully fledge it out. If it's negative, they don't bother.
Yeah,
so there's
I think
potential for that.
I think for something like that, and especially something so big as AOS 3, I don't think they would test the waters with with a warband like that. Like for AOS 3, it's got to be they've been planning this for probably the last year at least. So I think the Underworld's warband was that
came out a long time ago, though.
Did it? I don't know. The
warband
seemed to be out. I was going to say, to be fair, the last 12 months have felt like a decade, so it probably has been a bit.
Don't really know what's gone on in the last year. I'm sure that came out before lockdown, didn't it?
It probably did. It's just like I said. It's the last year's felt so weird.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, even then, you would say that there would have been a long lead
They
in
would have
time.
had a set plan of, right, AOS 3 is coming out, these are going to be the focuses that we're putting in, because they've got to write battle tomes, they've got to make all the models, they've got to do all the lore, they've got, like, there's a lot of bits that they've got to put behind it, especially for a launch of a new edition. I saw the Hobgoblins one and I was like, maybe.
I think it'd go down well. I think
go down well. My only not worry, but my only thing would be that you've already got Gloomspite Gits, which is like this huge goblin style army, and then you're going to go, right, here's some hobgoblins rather than something completely different.
Yeah, and I suppose it depends what else you put with it, though. I mean, if you have the hobgoblins, there's some goblins and some wolf riders, which essentially is what it would be. It then depends what monsters, etc. you stick with it. And we know it's going to be monster heavy because, the focus is going to be the realm of Ger. We know that this is a monster hunter, the Stormcast.
Yes.
We've got Kragnos coming along, and the story is going to revolve around him and him breaking free from his shackles, and from what I understand, rampaging across Ger.
Yeah, so he's kind of rallying the forces of destruction to kind of
which is good. I mean, you think if you block it as, and it kind of makes sense, you block AOS 1 as chaos, that they were the main focus. It was Sigmar trying to fight back chaos, and we got an introduction to all of those. AOS 2 was clearly death was the focus. The Soul Wars, Nightfall, OBR, all of those got a real focus in AOS 2. It makes sense for AOS 3 to be destruction.
Yeah.
And that's the main focus. And I'd seen some rumors about actually Empire or Cities of Sigmar getting some upgrades and something happening there.
So they did.
I'm less convinced about that, but again, it does tie in if you're going to bring in like the beasts part.
Yeah, they did talk about more focus on the cities of Sigmar over the kind of with the new launch. So whether that means, I mean, it's something that is needed, to be fair, because we've talked about in the past, like those Empire models, the Free Guild Guards, they just look a little bit out of place. Like,
yep, absolutely.
AOS. And
we always thought Cities of Sigmar was a placeholder and to let them die slowly, but I do wonder whether the success of Cities of Sigmar has made them think twice about it and maybe gone, right, let's just AOSify some of these.
Do some kits. That's what it needs, to be fair. It just, here's some new Free Guild Guard and lots of different options. Like,
the laws there. I mean, like, most of the books have included Free Guild somewhere along the line.
Yeah, put a sprue with 30 heads on that have different, like, realms on. And then you can kind of just create your guards to look a little bit like whatever realm you want. But yeah, I mean, today we're recording on Monday night, and the community site did a little post today on 4 things you need to know about the next edition. And it does say the story continues, and it talks about the Broken Realms Kragnos, and it says, following the conclusion of the 4th and final book, the story of the Mortal Realms will continue as Sigmar and the forces of order wrestle with the arrival of new gods, new monsters, and a surge of life across the land. So the new god is obviously Kragnos.
Yep.
New monsters is, like you said, that seems to be the kind of focal point with Yndrasta. I'm just going to call it the Celestial Spear, that's a lot easier. The Celestial Spear being a monster hunter, it's being in the realm of beasts. Yeah, I'm excited to see. Apparently in 19 days' time, which I'm trying to do my calculations, is going to be a 7...
End of the month, isn't
14, 15, 16, 17, 18... 19 days' time is the 29th of May. And that is a Saturday. So apparently there's a big thing happening then on the ageofsigmar.com website. So I'm going to put it out there. We're going to get a preview show on that 29th with the reveal of the box set, I think. Because I think that, Gravelords are going up for pre-order on Saturday. You're then going to get a second pre-order on the 22nd, which is the following Saturday for the second wave. I think you'll probably get Kragnos and everything as well then.
Yep.
And then on the 29th, that's the day that Broken Realms Kragnos comes out. They're going to do a preview show with the next thing. Because they did say that 2 more preview shows were happening in May. Which doesn't kind of work, because if they've said the 29th, it doesn't really give them much time. But maybe they misspoke and there was meant to be 2 more preview shows coming to reveal more stuff.
Did they say there were 2 more AOS preview shows?
So when they were talking about on Saturday for the AOS reveal, they did say that there's going to be 2 more preview shows in May to go through more stuff. So they might have kind of...
We shall see.
Misspoke, yeah. I mean, I just do it tomorrow and the day after, and then I'll be fine. And then the day after
that. Because I'm not a big fan of the massive lead up. I get why they do. They want to build the hype and everything. But, we knew AOS 3 was coming a long time ago.
We didn't know. We assumed.
Right, fine. We assumed, but we knew. It was when, was the big thing. We didn't know at what point during the summer, because everything was messed around, and we don't know whether or not this was their plan all along, whether they were always targeting now, or whether or not this maybe was planned to come out last year and just COVID just threw a bomb in it all. We just don't know, do we? I just feel that, like you say, Kragnos hasn't even gone up for pre-order yet, and already we're being told there's a AOS 3. I want it now, and the build-up is great, but ironically, it's actually put me off slightly. In
starting anything new,
because I was going to jump on the Soulblight release, which we'll cover later on, but I was going to jump on board that, and then this comes out, and I'm like, hang on. There's a brand new race coming around the corner. Let's have a look at that first, and then what's the impact on the other things? Well, let's look at that first. And I don't know. It just puts me in a bit of a hobby pause state, I suppose. And I think the same happened with AOS 2, but I was only just coming into AOS, so it was still fresh.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I mean, they did it with the new 40k. They had the Psychic Awakening books, and then before the last one even dropped, they announced this one. So I can kind of understand that. I mean, I was chatting to one of my friends who's a 40k player, and he's dabbled a bit in AOS in the past, and I was like, AOS 3's coming out, do you want to kind of get back into it? And he's like, I'd love to, I just don't know what to play at the minute. He was like, I want a low model count army, and I started listing them off, and I was like, but until we know what the rules are and what the kind of changes are, I hate to suggest anything to you, because I don't want to recommend something that suddenly becomes not unviable, because GW wouldn't do that to a whole entire army, but you don't want to go, right, okay, yeah, this is like a good army, and then suddenly the new missions come out, new rules come out, and you're like, oh, actually that army doesn't work like that anymore, or...
Exactly. I mean, I don't know whether it was, and this is the one, there's been so much, whether it was rumour or whether it's actually in the articles around the fact that they're moving more towards the 40k detachment system. And
yes,
they mentioned around battalions were... I don't know whether they said they were getting rid of battalions or battalions were becoming less important.
Well, it's a good segue into the next bit, which was the actual developer interview with Phil Kelly, Jess Bickham, and the incredibly reforged and slim-looking Ben Johnson. Which
I think that was probably one of the biggest talking points of the entire thing, wasn't it?
It was amazing. I saw it and I was like, who's that? And I was like, oh, it's Ben. Wow. Yeah. So no, fair play to him, and he kind of said like the lockdown's been amazing for him, so he's been like properly doing well. So massive congrats to him for that. But they kind of talked about the designing the new edition, and they didn't give away too much in regards to kind of rule changes. They said that the rules have been split out to make them clear and concise as possible, and they're going to be less ambiguous. So kind of basically rules as written and not as rules as intended, not just rules as written and people interpreting them as they want. So I expect they'll be doing a bit like what they did for 40k in regards to making the rules much more, not in depth, because it's not going to be going back to the ways of fantasy where it's 100 pages of rules, but where it talks about specific things, it will then have a full example with a lot more text to explain it, to say this is exactly what happened, this is what you can do, this is what you can't do. And it stops people going, oh, well, if I can do that, and that's how I understand it, so that's how I'm going to play it.
It needs it really does.
Yeah.
I can't remember the exact words they used, but there was a statement in there that I kind of felt either you're going to live to regret saying that, or you specifically said it because you're trolling us all. And it kind of suggested that like these rules, you couldn't rules lawyer with them.
Yeah.
We know from experience there are people in the community that are going to, there are people out there that are going to look at these and go, oh, what about? Which is great, that's part of it. And I think with such a vast amount of books and armies and rules and interactions, there's always going to be mistakes. I don't care what anybody says. If somebody could make it perfect, then they would have done, and there'll be another game somewhere else that's selling by the truckload.
Exactly. It's one of them, like, you can build the best rule set in the world, but as you add more to it, it's harder to properly like make sure that nothing. I mean, we sit with Marvel at the minute, where that's our second game that we play, and the more stuff they add, then they've got to tweak bits here and there because they haven't thought about that, or it kind of not breaks the way the game plays, but it's just that thing doesn't happen. But like I said, like if they explain it in a bit more in depth, and I think the problem they've had is in the past, especially like AOS 1, and then AOS 1 was 4 pages of rules. AOS 2 was expanded a bit, but it was still only 12, 15 pages of rules, which for a massive game you need a lot more than that. So I think they're kind of not learning from their mistakes. I think that's a kind of bad thing, because I don't think any of it's been a mistake. Probably the only thing was no points when they very first launched, but they're just kind of expanding it back into a kind of fully fleshed out rule set that makes sense and like basically tells people this is how to play it, and this is how it's intended to be played.
Yeah, and I think the rule set itself can be small and concise if that's it. I think where the problem is that you have this, you look at AOS 1 where it was just the 4 pages. That's fine if you don't then release 101 army books on top of it that all have different ways of doing things. That to me is where you start to get the complications, and I suppose taking that in, and I think in the article today they've said, the new rules will work with all the existing battle tomes.
Yeah,
which is always good to know. I do wonder how much FAQ errata will be needed, and we know there's going to be some changes needed because some of those older ones will not have had AOS 3
exactly
embedded in them. Some of the new ones definitely will do.
Yeah.
So, I think anything they can do to make the rules cleaner and clearer will be a benefit to everybody.
100%.
There are always going to be people that try and break the rules. There are always going to be people that are going to try and find loopholes. Some people thoroughly enjoy it. That's fine. That's what they get out of it. That's up to them.
Yeah.
it's going to be for the benefit of everybody if there's a clearer, more concise set of rules.
Exactly. And they talk about it in today's article, saying the core rules for playing AOS may be seeing some pretty major changes, but your existing battle tomes will work just as well as they always have. In fact, the new edition has been designed around the current books to give you the most seamless transition possible. And then it goes on to say that's not to say they won't be getting any updates in the future. The changes being made to the core rules allow for all sorts of exciting new opportunities for your favourite factions. So,
I mean,
yeah,
it's a standard model they've got, isn't it? Release a new version, introduce a couple of new, I was going to say species, but factions as part of it, and update the existing ones. And we'll go through those books, and they'll all get an update, and they'll come through. And, let's be honest, you go back 6-7 years to good old days of Warhammer Fantasy Battle, we all laugh about it, but you could go 2-3 years without updates. Like some of those books were 5 years old, and so it's great that they're doing this. It's great that they're churning through it. Yes, it can cause some problems. Yes, they get caught out every now and then, but I'm all for it, definitely.
100%. So they have confirmed that the double tournament's staying, which is good.
Hooray!
Because I don't think I'd want to play OS without it. They did say that players going second will get more command points, which is interesting. And they said that command points interact with different abilities in different phases, which means less downtime during each phase. So there's been a few rumours about this, about command points now being a kind of turn thing rather than a just you've got 1 point and you only get 1 point and that's it. In a bit like the Ossiarch Bone Reapers, their Relentless Discipline, in the same way you get that each turn. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. The fact that you get more command points going second might be a kind of bonus for some armies, and actually winning that kind of double turn may make you go, actually I want to go second because of I need points to do X, Y, and Z.
Yes, and I think you kind of, if you don't lose them at the end of the turn, then I think that potentially causes you a problem in that you go, hey, turn 1, I'm going to go second, right? Fine. So you're going second, so you've got this bonus of all these extra command points.
Yes.
And then turn 2, I'm going to go first, so I get essentially the double turn. But I don't really lose out because I went second last time, and do you know what I mean? I got those. Yeah. Whereas if you lose them at the end of the turn, like you do in OBR, then you're right. You kind of like, actually, if
I need this for this and that for
if I'm going to go first, then I'm still getting that double turn, but I lose out. But not only that, but your opponent, it softens the blow, because your opponent then theoretically is able to react better to them having 2 turns without you able to do anything.
Yeah, exactly. And it's one. I mean, we're going to have to wait and see what type of command abilities you get in different phases, because I saw someone post somewhere about like charge reactions coming in. So if you get charged, you could spend command points to do certain things, which could be quite fun and like tactical. So again, if you know.
Sorry, I was going to say I can see that, and I can see that with the rumour I'd heard was there were standard charge reactions. I'm now wondering whether or not actually you'll have the standard ones, but then you'll have command points that allow you to do faction-specific charge reactions.
Potentially, yeah.
Which then makes it that bit more interesting. That kind of then says, well, actually, if I'm Skinks is a bad example because they do it anyway, but do you know what I mean? If I'm this, I can run away, but if I'm these ones, actually my charge reaction as standard for this faction is X, Y, and Z, or this unit gets to do something.
Can, like, instead of being charged, you can spend a command point to charge them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Something like that, where you can kind of go, actually no, I'm going to spend a command point and fight you, so you don't get near me on the objective, and I can then push you back. So it's interesting to see. I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I'm, like I said, glad that the double turn's staying. Interested to see where the command points go. But Ben Johnson was talking about one of his big things was trying to change the way that you build armies in match play, or address the way that you build armies in match play, and the whole thing around War Scroll battalions. So he said a lot of armies have, he described it as haves and have-nots. So certain factions have got battalions that work, like Siege and Change Host, or KO and Sky. What's it called?
I don't know
Sky
what it's
Patrol,
called, but yeah,
whatever it is, yeah.
Yeah.
And then you've got other factions that just don't really have any like battalions that work.
Yep.
Or Sons of Behemat just don't have any battalions, full stop. So his kind of approach is he wanted to address the imbalance of battalions by introducing something called core battalions. So we don't know what these are yet. We don't know kind of what they are, and this kind of goes back to what you were mentioning earlier of whether it's a bit like the 40k style specific battalions that you can build an army out of. I quite like the thought of that being the case, because you could then kind of, you don't have to have battle line in your army. You could have a kind of themed army behind a specific battalion, and whether that means that you get certain command points. So in 40k, when you do, what's it called? You have a, I'm stretching my knowledge now. 40k is
battalion.
Battalion.
Yeah.
Battalion detachment. Yeah, and you take.
That's the big one, isn't it?
Two troops.
Imperial Guard take loads of.
Yeah, you can take 2 heroes, 3 troops. A bit like kind of AOS now, whereabouts you've got to take a hero and 3 battle line. You've got to take troops, but then you've got to take like a couple of elites and a couple of heavy supports, but then you get like 9 command points or something. So whether you get certain things like that, whereabouts if you take a hero and 3 battle line units, you get 6 command points a turn, or if you take, I don't know, 6 behemoths, you get 2 command points, or something like that. It could actually mean that you see some really interesting and different lists out there.
It does, and I think I'm glad they're addressing it, because I totally agree. There are far too many armies with haves and have-nots, and one of the things I'm interested to see is how they work out who goes first, because that was one of the things that I always got frustrated with, in that if you had a battalion that was worthwhile, great. The battalion seemed to give you too much. You got the battalion bonus, you got a command point, and if it was a decent battalion, you got to basically go first in the vast majority of your games.
And you get an extra artifact as well.
Oh, and the extra artifact as well, yeah.
Yeah, so there's a lot of extra.
There's a lot of bonuses there, and I know some people are like, oh, well, this was, I had to pay 130 points for it. It's like, well, 50 points you got back from that. You got an artifact.
And you're going first. Yeah,
yeah, it's all great. I think just the bit where they took away the drop part, or they changed the drop part, would have been.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you could do roll-offs, or even like the drop part being you had to drop it all at once. Because the other annoying thing was, so many times you're like, I'm 12 drop. Oh well, I'm 1 drop, but actually I'm just going to drop each unit at a time, because I can do that.
And then drop the rest of the battalion at the end.
And then just at the very end, I'm going to. And I was like, well, that just seems that you've got everything on your side there. I don't really, there was no negative to it.
I always wanted it to be, if you finished deploying first, you then rolled off, but you got +1. Like, that's what I kind of wanted, because that makes it a lot more balanced. It kind of has that risk and reward. Like you said, you can drop everything at once if you really want to and outdrop your opponent, but you've always got a chance that you lose the turn anyway.
Yes.
So it will be interesting.
Yeah, I was just going to say, though, and I think all of that's great. The one thing I would say is it's going to be interesting to see if these new, let's call them, way in which we do these core battalions, gets you more command points. It's going to be interesting to see whether or not how balanced the use of command points are between factions.
Yes. Yeah.
Because if everybody's got the same amount of command points depending on how they arrange their armies, that's great, level playing field. But if then let's say Iron Jaws have got 3 or 4 amazing abilities they can use the command points for, and I don't know, Ideneth have got maybe one valid one and the rest are all nice and fluffy but of no real use, then all of a sudden you create that imbalance back again.
Yeah.
But I on the face of it, very positive.
Definitely. There's also rumours that all the current battalions and battle tomes are being removed from match play. Not removed from the game, because you can obviously use them in narrative, but yeah, this is the kind of the addressing of it, introducing core battalions, but getting rid of all of those kind of flavorful battalions, if you want to call them that, or the faction specific ones.
Yeah, and it felt right because they were flavoursome. They were, a number of them you looked at and you gone, I really like what you're saying. I really like the choices. I really like the bonus, but it's not real use in match play. If I'm doing a narrative, then yeah, the bonus you get is very narrative, but in a match play scenario, it's probably not worth it.
What's the big strong one? You've got Change Haste that can give me teleport.
Yeah.
You've got more tribe, what do you call it, Olbad for Stonehorns, and Mournfang that's basically my whole army and does mortal wounds on a 6 to hit. Yeah, I'll take that, why not?
Yeah.
So yeah, if it does mean that they go, like, I don't mind, to be honest. Like you said, they're nice, but how many outside of the normal one, like the normal ones from a battle time, do you normally see? Like,
exactly.
It's not a be all and end all thing for me, I think. It does lose a little bit of, I think, flavour for some armies. I'm thinking of some of the Seraphon ones that I was looking at, and like the Thunderquake and the Shadow Strike, where they can kind of pop up around the table. They do kind of lose certain bits like that, but like I said, with the core battalions, I suppose everyone gets it. Is kind of like, not loses it, but everyone, yeah, they do lose it. So everyone's in the same boat.
And I think if it is important to people that they play with that narrative element in it, then go and play narrative. There's nothing stopping you. I think we as much as anybody, are as guilty. We kind of always focus on the match play because that's what we play.
Yeah.
And there's an element at times I see, especially on the internet, of people wanting the match play and the narrative all in the same thing. And it's kind of like, well, if you want narrative, then it's going to have flavour, but it's not necessarily always going to be balanced because, when you read the books, it's not balanced. I don't want a Stormcast to face off against Free Guild and it to be a fair fight. That's not what I want. That's not, very rarely do you read in the books. It's like, and exactly the right amount of orcs turned up and the right amount of Stormcast did, and it was a really fair fight. And it's like, no, come on. You want narrative, you're going to get narrative. If you want it nice and balanced, then, play match play. So yeah, I'm kind of definitely in favour of it.
100%. And talking about narrative, so today's article, they have touched on a new and improved Path to Glory, which Path to Glory has always been a bit of a joke.
There's always been a joke around it.
Yeah.
Let's not call it a joke.
It's not been a joke, but yeah, everyone's kind of laughed about it because like it was always put in the middle of allegiance abilities and war scrolls, and it was like not many people who play match play care about stuff like that. But there is a vast community that does, and that, like I said, that's no kind of, we're not calling it a joke itself. It's just from a match play point of view, it was always seen as a bit of a, oh look, there's Path to Glory, skip.
I'll be honest though, I don't know even on the narrative side that many people that played Path to Glory. I've
seen a few people like do little campaigns together, like gaming groups and that, where they've done kind of Path to Glory style ones.
Fair enough. It always just felt like a bit of a, I don't know, almost one that Games Workshop were pushing all the way through, but didn't really have the community buy-in.
Yeah.
The way that the level that they were pushing it. So it's not a real surprise that they're giving it a bit of a refresh.
Yeah, so this one, it says the new edition will expand the campaign system even further. And basically it says we'll have more information about this narrative game mode in the future, but for now, those players who experienced Crusade and Warhammer 40,000 might be able to imagine some of the developments your campaign forces will go through on their path to glory. So I know Crusade has been a huge success for 40k. You can kind of like level up your characters. You can they can get injuries and kind of special abilities and things like that. And you can kind of unlock kind of special equipment and stuff. It's like a completely self-contained thing in 40k, and there's been some amazing things I've seen. Even our club, they've had a few Crusade things going as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, if they've kind of taken what they've learnt from Crusade and 40k, because they even did a few campaign books for it as well for 40k, and if they kind of release that for AOS, I think you'll see it a lot more, or not a lot more, but you'll see it adopted a bit more, and I think it would take a bit more notice to.
Yeah, and I think if you look at the people that have perhaps been doing I remember when the Crusade was first talked about and it came out. I got some 40k stuff. I was really interested in doing that, and I kind of like. Was it around COVID time, or was it much more before that?
No, it was during COVID. It was just at the start of COVID.
Yeah. So again, I kind of feel that it was something that a lot of the people that were looking at it, though, were match play, competitive 40k people that were like, this will be a nice refresher.
Yeah.
So I could see again it really taking off. And it's something that I'd definitely be interested in doing a couple of campaigns in AOS on. You can run it alongside doing it, playing match play. You just got to remember to switch between the two. And when you're in match play, your character that you've given all these upgrades doesn't actually have any of them.
Yeah, I can imagine that on game one.
Table 1, game 5 is like, and he's gonna. Oh, where? Oh,
yeah,
no.
Where have you come up with that? Oh,
I've charged him in thinking I had a chance of winning this, and I haven't got a chance at all.
Yeah. But no, that'll be interesting to see. We've always tried to do a few narrative campaigns in the club, but it's always kind of faltered after a couple of months. But hopefully something like this, and kind of obviously not having a club night for over 14 months now, I think it is.
Too long. Don't mention it.
Yeah, I know. It might be a nice way of kind of getting back into the swing of things, maybe. We'll see. We'll see what it looks like. But no, that should be quite nice, and it'll be interesting to see over the coming weeks or months, depending on when the newer version comes out. That we'll see how that develops as well, and what things they're adding into that. And the only other thing that they have said is that a new launch box is in the works. Which
shock horror.
I was going to say, I'd be surprised if it wasn't.
Say, new release. That's it. Crack on.
It says box will be packed with brand new miniatures and a special edition rulebook. Obviously a Stormcaster in it, and then this new race.
TBC.
But it does say that we guarantee you won't be expecting exactly who's peering from the swamps and waiting for their moment to strike. So I don't know whether that's been a bit of a kind of nod to everyone who's been predicting over the last couple of days of who it is.
Maybe, or let's be honest, it's not unknown for Games Workshop to turn around and say, you all think you know what it is, but you don't, and then it actually being what we all thought it was.
True.
Again, I'm not complaining. It's they want to build the hype. They want to keep us all excited. It would be pretty disappointing if they were like, "Oh yeah, you guessed it."
Yeah.
Well done. Oh, okay, fine. This is not quite where I was going.
It says, luckily for the forces of order, they have one of Sigmar's finest hunters at their head, ready to descend in a blaze of lightning and fury. So does that mean that the Celestial Spear is in the box set?
I was going to ask you the very same question. I would assume so. It does seem to suggest, and you do tend to get a hero. it's a large piece.
Yeah.
It gives me hope, though, as to what do we get. Do we get a monster in the box then?
That would be quite cool.
And it's going to be a brand new monster.
Yeah. It would be interesting to see. Apparently there's been a rumour engine of, the staircase that she's on.
Yes.
The opposite side of it with a kind of monster's claw on. One of the rumour engine pictures is of that.
Yes, I've seen that, yeah.
So that might be the opposite to face her. But yeah, if she's in the box set, that'll be very cool.
Yeah.
Now, I've just got to hope and pray that this isn't a limited run that we're going to struggle to get.
Yeah, I think if you were to lodge a single complaint about Games Workshop in the last 12 months, maybe even further back, it's been the limited runs. Because without going into it, we talked about it in the last episode, it would be a massive disappointment, because all it's going to do is encourage more and more of the scammers to buy a whole load of box sets and then sell them for twice the price on eBay.
Yeah.
Right, which helps nobody.
Exactly.
So I would be shocked if it was. I mean, the 40k one was not limited run, but they.
Well, it
ran
was.
Out, didn't they?
No, it was limited run to start off with, and then it sold out in 5 minutes or whatever it was, and everyone properly kicked off, to the point of GW had to make it a made-to-order product and did another run. But yeah.
So I would hope they've learnt from that and they wouldn't do it again.
I would hope so. I mean, with it being one of their flagship games, I have a feeling that even if it is a limited run version to start with, and then they do a bit like what they did with 40k, they released the kind of smaller versions that are the starter sets. I think 40k has 3 different versions that you can get that have some of the models from that Indomitus box. So you've kind of got 3 different entry levels of price point, etc. Whether this is a limited run box and then they release 3 different versions that have all the different components in, maybe. But yeah, I just hope that.
I hope not, because like I say, it just encourages that kind of behaviour. And yeah, I get that Games Workshop then guarantee the sales, and that's great for them. They sold out, but they can't be happy about the fact that people are making money just by buying and then selling it on again. So no, I would hope it's not a limited edition or a limited run, and I would hope that there is
enough to go around.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just want to paint those Stormcast. I've only seen 3 models, and I'm like, that's all me. I got all my Stormcast out today, and I've worked out I've got just short of 7,700 points of Stormcast.
I must admit, I did look at them, and I did kind of think I've got a paint scheme in mind, and I'm keeping it close to my chest because I might not do it.
Right.
But I've got a paint scheme in mind, and I may well end up doing it. So we shall see.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be doing mine in my scheme.
Yeah.
Mine's nice and easy. But yeah, just add another couple of 1,000 points on, what's the harm? Be fine.
Why not? But the big question for me is, when is it going to be out? Is it going to be out in time for our tournament at the end of July?
Yeah, so we were all kind of winding Scott up on the Scottish AOS chat when this got announced, going, what should be released on the Saturday of the event. We went,
we don't want any of that.
We'll just have it on. We'll play AOS 2 on the Saturday, and then Scott can just rewrite the pack for the Sunday. It's fine.
Absolutely.
No, we don't know. That's just biggest answer. They did say over the coming weeks and months that we will get the details. I have a feeling it will be end of June, and I think we talked about this last episode. Yeah. If Kragnos is out next week, if he's up for pre-order next week, so Stormcast is up for pre-order. Not Stormcast. Soulblight Gravelords is up for pre-order on Saturday, wave 1. The second wave of Soulblight will be up the following week, but I have a feeling Kragnos will be up then as well, along with Croak, the new Sylvaneth Waypiper, Kragnos himself, and who else is coming out? The Witch Hunters and the Slanesh Demons. Wow, that'll be a big week.
Yeah.
An expensive week. But yeah, if that comes out then, and that kind of ties up Broken Realms, then on that 29th, or whatever we said it was, the 29th, we get another preview show. That then gives them a whole month. And I would hazard a guess either the 26th or of June or the 3rd of July, maybe. This is me just guessing, but...
Yeah, and I kind of like...
I mean, AOS 2 came out on the 30th.
I would hope that it comes out before the end of June.
Yeah.
They've shown it now. We're early May. Is it really going to be 2 months?
They did it with 40k. Because they did it with like weeks of like rules previews and stuff.
Yeah, and then they do all the faction reviews and tell you why your faction's going to be better in the new release. And I get that, but
think about it. We've only seen 3 models so far. Like, they've still got to show all the rest of the Stormcast. They've got to show all the new faction.
But like I said, I from a purely business perspective, I don't know whether that's such a great business. It can't just be us that kind of go, hold off.
Yes and no.
Okay,
there'll be 2 camps. There'll be 2 camps for this. Sorry to cut you off there.
Yeah.
There'll be 2 camps. There'll be the group like you, whereabouts it's like, I need to wait until the new edition comes out because then I want to know what I want to do. Or you'll have the second group, whereabouts it's like, a new edition's coming out. I want to do a new army before the new edition drops, like for the new edition. And you'll have them 2 camps, and you'll have... think about it. Okay, the core rules may change massively, and it's still going to be the way that we know how to play. It's just extra rules that are added in. Let's be honest, they can't really change how AOS works. You move, you attack, you shoot, you do magic, crack on.
Fundamentals are still going to be there.
All the current battle tomes are there, so you've got nothing to worry about there. Like, nothing's changing there. The only one, if you're starting a Stormcast army, maybe don't buy the battle tome at the minute. Because you're going to be a bit annoyed in a few weeks' time when a new battle tome comes out. But yeah, like I said, that's the 2 camps. You've got one that will go, I'll wait until the new edition comes out and then I can work out what I want to do. But I think you'll get a lot of people who actually go, you know what, I'm going to start a new army now and get ready for the new edition.
Maybe. You'd be a brave person. I suppose if you know what you want to do, and because you've always wanted to do Skaven, for example, and I say that because that's one of my to-do lists. Then maybe you do it and say, right, I'm just going to accept what comes. For me, it would be a gamble because it's as much about the force composition as anything.
Yeah.
And if you don't care about it and you just, you've already decided these are your favourite models, then fine, maybe you do. Time will tell. But I would hope that it doesn't take more than 2 months.
True, yeah. And I mean, Soulblight will be you could almost call it the first AOS 3 book, I suppose.
I do wonder whether or not the Lumineth that came in Teclis, they're going to be written for 3, definitely.
Yeah. I think Sons of Behemoth, Lumineth.
Oh, there you go. Sons of Behemoth didn't have any battalions. What a surprise!
Yeah, but then Lumineth did, so
kind
of lose you.
And interestingly, you kind of they did, and if you notice, all the Broken Realms books did. They introduced battalions, but then, as he says, he's introduced them for the narratives.
Yes. The Broken Realms ones didn't have points, did they? He says as he's flicking.
I think they must have done because that's where the Lumineth ones would have been in.
Well, no, because they were in the battle. Battletome Lumineth as well, weren't they? I suppose I know what you mean. I'm just flicking through my my Battlecore book. There is no. Yes, there is. I was literally staring at the very first one, going no, just while reading War Scroll Battalion.
Yeah.
Okay, so there are points.
But they had to put points in because they had to.
Yeah.
They couldn't give it away if they brought them out. You imagine, because when did Marathi come out? That came out a while ago. It comes out, there's no point. It would have been uproar, more so than normal, and that's saying something. So we'll have to wait and see. But like I said, I'm hoping it's less than 2 months because I'm now in hobby paralysis when it comes to AOS because I just don't know where to go.
I would love squigs to paint up.
I've got. Not even half painted, let's be honest. A third painted Squig army. I've got all my Lumineth. I was messing around with Zinch. I've still got my Dwardin that, the city's army for. There's 101 projects on the go, but as I say, I kind of want to wait and see what comes out because I could quite happily, if the new version comes with the brand new army, jump in on those. My only trepidation on that is exactly what I did with AOS 2.
Oh, with Nighthaunt, yeah.
Jumped in on Nighthaunt, bought a whole shed load of Nighthaunt, ran them for ages, and I think the first tournament we did, they did all right, and then they slowly just faded away into the nothingness.
Yeah, you finished. I'm pretty sure you finished second or third.
Second in the
Summer Massacre. That was the one I hosted. Yeah, they only just came out, hadn't they? It must have been.
It was 2 or 3 weeks after.
It was 2 weeks because it was 2 weeks after my wedding. Yeah, it was 2 weeks after the AOS 2 dropped.
Nobody knew what they did, so that was how they managed to do so
well. But yeah, we'll wait and see. I am stupidly excited. I can't wait. Like, honestly, it's like kid at Christmas for me. I'm just like, come on, I want more. I want to see more.
Yeah,
I want to read more.
Well, I want it now,
basically,
and that's the problem, isn't it? I kind of like I want it now, and I don't want to lose that enthusiasm for it, because that's the other thing with it being dragged out over 2 months. If they release it tomorrow, I'd buy it probably without any of the hype. I don't need the hype. Give me a new version. I'll buy it. Buy me the box set. I'll get the Stormcast and whatever the hell else is in there. You drag it out for 2 months, and then at the end of it, I'm like, yeah, all right, fine.
I'm still gonna buy it though. Let's be honest.
I'm still gonna buy it, yeah. But do you know what I mean? I kind of like.
I know what you mean.
Excitement's there now, so let's get it now.
It. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm intrigued. Yes, I'm definitely intrigued. I'm looking at the squirrel at the bottom of the base of the Sigmar's spear or whatever she's called. Is that a hint? Hiding in plain sight. It's a squirrel army.
It's a squirrel army. You've heard it here first.
They said the base was going to give it away, and everybody was thinking that it was the hieroglyphics on the steps of the base, but actually,
the swampiness of it all.
Yeah, it's just the fact that there's a squirrel on there. There's a giant squirrel army coming.
That would be a thing of nightmares, I think. But no, that is AOS 3. Well, I was going to say AOS 3 in a nutshell. It's not really AOS 3 in a nutshell. That was Saturday in a nutshell.
Squirrels.
Yeah, there you go.
You can't help yourself now, can you?
I can't help it now, no. But no, that's as much as we know, to be honest. I can't wait for Broken Realms Kragnos to come out. I wonder, I doubt it, but I wonder whether Kragnos will reveal this new enemy, and that's why they haven't announced it yet.
I think there will be something in there, but I think it may well just be one line. Yeah. I think that I will be shocked if there is anything more than a 1 or 2 line hint.
Yes.
At this point.
Yeah. But we shall see. I'm sure as the weeks lead on, we will be doing many, many more episodes to cover bits, even if they're little episodes here and there, just to kind of talk about the latest reveals. I just can't wait. Like, just, like you said, give it to me now. Like, it's I'm properly hyped up. Like, I've been reading Broken Realms, which I never read lore. Broken Realms books are amazing. I'm like just about to finish Bellicor at the minute, and I'm just like, right, I need Kragnos. Come on, give me Kragnos. So
yeah, I haven't read Teclis or Balakor yet. I'm behind the curve a little bit. I did devour Morathi when that came out. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
But I never got to the next ones.
That definitely worthwhile. Like,
yeah, I've got them there ready to go, but I just haven't had.
I love them. They showed the preview of the rulebook as well, or like the front cover of the rulebook, I should say. And that is the Celestial Spear fighting against. I don't really know what it is. It looks like kind of some sort of chaos, like Gribblies, chaos spawns almost.
I found it odd that the front page of the new rulebook was the poster girl, shall we say?
Yeah.
Fighting something that's got nothing to do with what they're fighting against the core box. So, again, is it hiding in plain sight? Is that actually just some monster from this new
maybe
thing? There's so many little hints and tips that you could take that and you could just expand the whole world of it and say, right, this is clearly what's happening. Or it just could be, we just created something. There you go,
exactly. But no, that's a very nice looking front cover, great piece of art as well. I hope that they release that as a kind of Warhammer art piece at some point. I might have to get that for the man cave, because at the minute I'm still got, what is it? It is Stormcast against Nurgle from the Realmgate Wars, which I picked up at Black Library many years ago. So I've got a little space next to it, so something like that would be quite nice.
I'm just looking around mine at the moment, and actually I've got a Primaris Space Marine and a poster of Horus Heresy Book 1 Betrayal.
Oh, God. Right, so the Tales of Sigmar are looking for a new co-host.
I was going to say, I don't actually have. I've got my Heat 2 finalist thing stuck up somewhere as well. That's the only Sigmar poster I've got in here at the moment.
Yeah,
so
I've got mine.
Probably should look to
update.
Yeah.
They did. I know we talked about it a little bit. They did reveal the map of Gur as well, which was quite cool. And there was, like you said, Beast Grave on there, and there was a big, what do they call it? The Stormcast Excelsius, which was their kind of like the big storm host here.
Yep.
So it would be interesting to see how that all works as well. Maybe we get kind of more details about certain parts that are on here.
Everyone loves a good map.
Yeah, it's what AOS kind of needs almost. It needs lots of maps like these just to kind of get a better idea of where everything else. But that is it for AOS 3, unless there's anything else you want to talk about at the minute.
I think we've covered AOS the reveals so far.
So far, yeah. Watch them announce a load of stuff on Saturday, and we'll be back here again on.
You never know.
Doing it again. So what we'll do, we'll take a quick break there, and then we will time travel back to Monday for the very first day of Warhammer Fest, and we'll talk about all the reveals for AOS then. And welcome back from the break. So, with AOS 3 was on the Saturday, and like we said, we're going to go in our time machine and we're going to go back to Monday, which was the AOS day for Warhammer Fest. And there were kind of two main focuses for this. Soulblight Gravelords, we're going to go through that second, because while we're recording, we now know that stuff's up for pre-order on Saturday, and we're also seeing some of the rules previews, so we're going to kind of cover that in a little bit more. But the big thing that got announced at the end of the Monday show was to do with Broken Realms Kragnos, and that was the Kragnos model himself. And
a little bit big, wasn't it?
Yeah, he looks like a big beast. So he is apparently a beast of no, he's not a beast of chaos. He's destruction god.
Beast of chaos. Don't say beast of chaos.
No,
they're very tender at the moment.
Would trigger him. That's almost our drama gate for this episode. Is should Kragnos be a beast of chaos model? No, so he is a kind of what's the best way of describing him? A centaur almost.
Again, don't say that because
Yeah.
yeah, he's a giant centaur with even bigger horns,
Bigger horns, a huge shield, and
a massive mallet.
yeah. So he is apparently he's a god from the Age of Myth apparently, and he was trapped in a mountain by Croak way back when, which I don't really understand because he's meant to be the god of earthquakes and everything, and
He's stuck in.
He was trapped in a mountain. Like I'm sure Broken Realms Kragnos will explain how he was doing that. But the moment they said that, I was like, surely that means that he could have just done an earthquake and got out.
I assume it was with super frog spells that just stopped him from using his powers.
Yeah, the ancient god
I'm
of
not sure
earthquakes, the slayer of dragons.
What triggered it though? Like, what has triggered him to be
unleashed?
Yeah.
I probably expect it's something to do with the necroquake that Nagash did, and it's probably dislodged some of their magical protection spells and also weaken the rocks so he can burst out. That's my prediction.
But I'm just thinking that was a while ago. I'm wondering whether or not it's more to do with Marathi doing her jazz.
Maybe. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I hope that all of Broken Realms Kragnos actually talks through it all, and he doesn't just like appear at the end as this kind of new thing. So yeah, he is a destruction god, and apparently his whole thing is to pull all of the forces of destruction together, so they can go on one big rock across the immortal realms. And he looks, I like him. I really like him. He looks awesome. I think he's going to be a nice model to paint. I'm not a big fan of all of the kind of greeny metal that he's got on. I think doing it in a different colour, he would look a bit different.
Yeah, that doesn't bother me. My issue is with the face, and I think it's
about the face. So
just the way maybe the way it's painted, or just the way it's photographed. It just looks tiny compared to the rest of him, and I think it's because there's a lot of hair, and the hair just seems to blend in. And like I say, once you get to see it up close,
it's probably going to be
yeah.
You see it with a lot of models where you see it and you're like, I don't like that, and then you actually see the model, and then you see other paint jobs and you're like, oh no, that looks nice.
Absolutely. So I'm kind of on that side of it at the moment, but that's the one thing that kind of jumped out. I know there's two faces as well. There's two different ones, but neither of them particularly caught me as such. So I was like, we shall see.
Yeah. So he is massive, but he's not as big as a Mega Gargant, which was a surprise. I thought maybe a God of Destruction would be probably the biggest model to lead everyone, but apparently he's not as big as a Mega Gargant. But he does look awesome, and they did preview a couple of his rules. So they said that he's got a 2+ save.
Yep.
So I think AOS 3 is just going to... Anyone who's got a decent enough shield is going to get a 2+ save.
Sounds good.
The Stormcast with those big shields. I think they said he had 18 wounds as well. So 2+ save, 18 wounds. That's pretty decent. He's got... They previewed a couple of his actual War Scroll abilities. He's got Icon of Destruction. And the description is, Kragnos is revered and held in awe by all warriors that belong to the Grand Alliance of Destruction. Add 1 to the bravery characteristic of friendly destruction units wholly within 12 of this model. No.
It's not enough, and within 12?
Wholly within 12 is massive, because it's a 24-inch bubble and he's on a massive base. So that I've not got a problem with. But he's meant to be the icon of destruction. He's revered and held in awe by all warriors that belong to the Grand Alliance of Destruction. That should be add 3 to the bravery characteristic of destruction units. Like, I want little grots that are bravery 4 becoming bravery 7, like, yeah, I'm buffed up by the god of destruction. Not 1. Like, I don't know. I saw loads of people going, "Oh, he should like make destruction units immune to battle shock wholly within 12." It's like no, because immune to battle shock is just an awful thing. Like I
Imagine
don't.
units of 60 grots. Well, you do get that, don't you? Because
You get that with the Loon Shrine, but
you can have the Loom shrine at the back and him at the front, and that's literally
yeah,
the
and
entire
your whole
board
army.
covered, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like,
Add 3 to the bravery characteristic makes it a lot more an icon. Like 1 to the bravery characteristic doesn't do anything. Like yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of that. That was a little bit disappointing for me.
feels like just a throw-in rule. I don't. It doesn't feel. You don't take him for that rule, do you?
No, unless he's got a command ability like the Vermin Lord Warpseer. That is a 24-inch immune to battle shock aura. That's a command ability that you can do.
Maybe, yeah.
And that's a strong ability because I used it throughout all my times I used Skaven. Like especially their low bravery that you're like, oh no, I'm actually immune now. But yeah, I hope that they've got something extra that kind of fits in. And then the other bit was the shield inviolate.
Yeah, we'll go with violate.
Yeah. And basically, the legend has it the disc of this shield, Tuskbreaker, earned its name by chipping Gorka Morka's tooth. So, every time this model was affected by a spell or endless spell ability, you roll 3d6, and if the roll is greater than the casting value of that spell or endless spell, ignore the effects of the spell or that endless spell ability on this model. So, and it does say designer's note, which this is the thing I like because this was the first question I had, and then I read that bit. It says use the casting value on the spell or endless spell's war scroll, not the casting roll for the spell. So you've got a Kairos popping a double 6 on a spell, and it's actually casting a 6, and you go, no, I just need to roll 6 on 3d6 and I'm fine. I like this. I think it gives them a bit more protection, like with spells and endless spells, obviously.
Absolutely, and sometimes you get certain spells that you've got this massive centerpiece and just destroyed or made to stay still by an endless spell, and you're just like, or even just a normal spell, and you're just like, I've got, because we don't know how many points it is, but let's say I've got 600 points sat here.
Yeah.
Can't do anything.
Exactly.
Nothing. I would say the designer note thing is great, but why can't they just write the rule without it? Do you know what I mean? It just feels like if you need to clarify a rule before you even release the rule, is there not something wrong with the rule?
The language used in that
rule.
Yeah.
I think you're right. I think it's great that they clarified it and so there's no ambiguity and they're cutting it off before it gets there. You don't want to be too critical. It's a great start, but you do kind of feel like, if you knew it needed clarity, why didn't you clarify it?
I suppose this might be a bit like, as we talked in part 1 about their more kind of, like we said, the less ambiguous rules.
Yeah.
This is them literally saying you cannot interpret it any other way. This is what it is, and you know for a fact, even if they put that wording in the rule, that someone would go, oh, well, is it done by the caster or is it done by this? This is just a nice, easy way. Put it at the bottom. This is what it actually means. Like,
yeah, there's that side, and there might be something within version 3 rulebook that means you don't need that designer note.
Sure. Yeah. Exactly. That's the thing. I mean, these models are being designed with AOS 3 in mind, but we don't know, like you said, what's
that designer note
books
just to carry you over between, I've written this rule, which makes perfect sense in AOS 3. Because this is AOS 2, I'm just going to put this designer note so you understand it in this context. So 100%. Maybe it's that, in which case, fair enough.
They did say that you could fit into any destruction army, so I hope that means that he can just literally be used as a character in whatever without having to use up ally slots or being limited to specific things.
I can't see him using allied slots. I mean, realistically, you can spend 400 points on allies.
Yeah.
if he's less than 400 points, I'd be disappointed. I feel like Destruction really need that Teclis Nagash style
100%.
600 points, and he's going to come and just take on the world.
I hope so, yeah. Like, have all your grots taking all the objectives and let them just go wreck face and see what happens. No, but I'm looking forward to seeing what his actual rules are. It was a little bit weird that he is like the destruction god, but I mean, destruction have been needing something from Broken Realms because they've had like 0 supports in the first 3 books. So this 4th one is meant to be the rise of destruction and them kind of fighting back and leading this new wave into AOS 3. So it's a cool model. I like it. I'm looking forward to getting it. I mean, I've got 5 destruction armies, 5 Bone Splitters, Iron Jaws, Gloom Spite, 2 Ogre armies, half a Gargant's army.
I was going to say, we got the Gargants. You stopped
5 and
halfway
a half,
through, didn't you?
maybe. Yeah. I'm trying to think if there's any others that I'm missing. No, yeah. So yeah, I'll definitely be getting them, for sure. When the book comes out, I do not know. I mean, we have talked about this, and I think we talked about it in part 1. Like, there is that countdown timer, and it finishes on the 29th of March at 6 p.m. So, says to me that that's when the next Twitch show is, and that would kind of make sense that Kragnos is out by then. So maybe up for pre-order on the 22nd next Saturday. We shall see. But obviously, in that Kragnos book, you will have Kragnos himself. You've got Lord Croak, the Witch Hunters, the Sylvaneth, and the Slanesh. So
yeah, quite a lot.
Yeah, but very nice model. It was great. I'm glad that he did get revealed. I had this nagging feeling that even though it was Broken Realms Kragnos, it was going to be a kind of, he was mentioned and talked about in the book and like didn't
get a model,
or it was going to lead into AOS 3 and he gets released then. But no, it's a nice end to the Broken Realms series because I have been loving those books, so I can't wait to get this one, give it all a read. It's great, but let's move on to the Soulblight, Gravelords.
Indeed.
And this was something we kind of touched on one of the previous preview shows. I can't remember which one it was that we did, where we talked about, with Soulblight, it felt like it was missing a couple of pieces, a couple of like centerpiece models. We saw new Skeleton Warriors, we saw zombies, we saw the new Blood Knights, and then a couple of heroes here and there, but I don't know, with a big army it seemed to be missing a couple of big pieces, and I think we kind of got them this time, didn't we?
We got a big piece, definitely. It's let's say this one definitely divided opinions.
Yes, so it's a dual kit. So it's Lucavi, the Mother of Nightmares, or you can build a non-named Vangorian Lord. It's called Vangorian Lord. This is a kind of half bat drake dragon thing, half vampire amalgamation. I think is that the best way of describing it?
Yeah, I think my fundamental issue with it is that the vampire monster thing, half of it, feels like it's just missing a head.
Yes.
But then they stuck an entire body on top.
Yeah.
And that is why there's something about the model that, again, it's only photos, we're only getting seen from a couple of angles, you never know until you get it in your hands, and generally they do a good job. But there is something about it that just makes it feel like it's
a little bit unnatural.
They've put it at the wrong place, yeah. But I mean, unnatural, that's fine. Let's be honest, we're talking about a vampire stuck on the body of a half-dead drake. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what it looks like in real life. It's not one that I must admit I've got on my list of, if I did Soulblight, I would have it.
Want one. Yeah.
Yeah. And now the rules might come out, and I might go, "Ooh,
It kind of
that
forces
might
you
change
into
my
it.
opinion
Yeah.
completely." But if I was being narrative and buying it for the rule of cool, at the moment it's not really grabbing
Yeah,
me.
it's definitely, like you said, split a lot of people. I prefer the Mother of Nightmares to the normal Vingorian Lord. Like that one, the kind of pose with a sword in the hand is a little bit even like not worse, but it just looks even more unnatural, if that makes sense.
It's a very 1960s black and white vampire with a bit of a like, ooh, kind of
Yeah.
putting his hand over his face. Ooh, yeah. This is just if you could move the non-sword wielding hand somewhere else, I think actually it works quite well. And again, it might be just the angle of the photo when you look at it from different angles, and it's fine. But yeah, that it just looked a bit of a. It doesn't look
Strange one.
menacing.
Yeah.
It's yeah.
Yeah. But no, it will be interesting to see. It's been confirmed it is a leader option, so it's not a like behemoth or anything like that. And obviously, the Mother of Nightmares being a named character, it's a new kind of a centerpiece, and I'm pretty sure it leads one of the bloodlines. I think. I'm just having a quick look now because we're going to go through them in a bit. But yeah, they. So she leads the Avengori dynasty, which is it's not really a flesh eater court thing per se, but you can take Terrorgeist and zombie dragons as battle line, and they can take the Vargeist as well. So you kind of are using a lot of the flesh eater kind of models.
It's a vampire version of Flesh Eater Courts.
Yeah, so it's more apparently focusing on like rampaging packs of monstrous undead creatures. So yeah, like we said, it's an interesting model. Whether it's seen a lot, it could be that suddenly someone finds a conversion that just works, and then everyone starts using that conversion. But
Yeah.
we shall see. The next one we saw, which is a surprise one, Radikar the Beast.
That name sounds familiar.
It's from Redacted. So Radikar was in Curse City, but he was a lot smaller then. And yeah, they put a few spoilers in here, which I was a little bit annoyed about what happened to him in that board game that shall not be named. But apparently he's back, and he's taken on a much bigger wolf form now. I mean, he looks huge. I love the model as well. He looks awesome.
Yes.
He's got a couple of the. I'm trying to remember what the Vitecross. They're kind of like newborn vampires.
Yeah.
And they've got a couple of them on the base. I was surprised that we didn't get a unit of those, to be fair. Because I think they could have been quite a cool little elite smashy unit. Even in like boxes of 5 or something.
Yeah, it does feel like that's something that's missing. But again, everything with the whole Curse City stuff, something clearly happened there that just doesn't quite feel like it fits somehow.
100%.
So yeah, I think I would agree. It would have been good to see more of them. And the fact that they've put them on his base kind of suggests they're still around, but not.
Yeah. That's what I mean. Like the fact that they're on there kind of says to me, well, why didn't they get their own unit?
Yeah.
Because you got 3 separate ones in Curse City, so like I would have quite liked to do an army like that. Have him and a load of them running about. Could be quite fun. But yeah, they're a part of the Vicross. I don't know, whatever it is. One of the bloodlines. But he's not the only hero that got revealed for that one, and it is. Why didn't they do some easy names? Belladama Volga, first of the Virkos. First of the Wolves. There you go. That would be the nice easy one. I really like this model. Like, she's riding a huge direwolf almost. It's not direwolf though, because it's not undead.
It's not direwolf because they're it says she's able to command direwolves directly. and even cursed living mortals become wolves.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know, because apparently the one that she's on is her ex-lover.
Oh right, okay.
Transformed into a wolf, which
Delightful.
is interesting. Yeah, no, again, fantastic model. It was slightly spoiled for me because somebody did one with, and I've forgotten the name, but the old lady of it's completely gone now.
I'll just feel
Song of Ice and Fire. What's that?
Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones.
Yep.
Put her face on it, and it does seem to work for her. And I kind of looked at, oh yeah. But yeah, no, I really like that model, and this is the aesthetic that I would probably go with if I was going for a rule of cool style.
Yeah.
Soulblight's army, like her, him, lots of direwolves.
Yeah. Could be very cool.
You then go a couple of monsters in there, or go bloodlights or something like that. But like almost an all cav, all mobile army.
You could use. Just trying to think. That would be quite expensive. Heresy, the Lehman Russ wolves that you can get, you could use them as something. I don't know what though.
It would be very expensive because you only get 2 in a pack, don't you?
Yeah. I'm sure some miniature company out there does a big kind of wolf that you could use as like a Terrorgeist or something, and have a proper just full wolf army. But I would be quite inclined, because I know she commands direwolves, and we're going to go on to them in a minute, but I'm surprised they didn't actually release a load of wolves for this, because if she commands direwolves, I think I would probably use the Fenrisian wolves from the Space Wolf army that you always saw it used as direwolves anyway. But yeah, it kind of fits the aesthetic a lot more with her and Radikar as well. If suddenly they're then leading a load of direwolves that are actually proper wolves, if that makes sense.
Yes, I do. And is it a new kit of direwolves?
Yes. So let's talk about them. So they finally updated the old direwolves with new ones. I really like them. They look really nice. You get a pack of 10 as well, so there's lots of different kind of shape poses and that.
Yep.
Some of them do look kind of a bit like the Fenrisian wolves, but a lot of them are very undead and kind of got half their skin missing. And there's one, which one is that? One of the ones at the back, there's a crow like picking away at the skin on him. And then you've got the leader who's on like a stone howling into the moon. So very cool models.
Rib cage exposed.
Yeah, they're very cool, and I think, like you said, having an army of them on the table with her and Radikar would be a pretty awesome sight to see.
Yeah, and it depends. In the past, they've always just been used as objective grabbers.
Oh, they're just cheap chaff. They're like 70 points for 5.
But I wonder whether or not they'll stay as cheap chaff, or whether they'll, with them, they'll get a bonus or something.
Yeah, the fact that they're in boxes of 10. I suppose I think the old boxes came in 10 as well, to be fair. But I think having an actual bloodline with these as the focus, and the characters, I have a feeling they will get buffed up in that bloodline. Even if it's like, if you're wholly within 12 of her, you get +1 to hit or something, or command ability to give them +1 attack, or something like that, where suddenly you can actually buff them up quite strong. But yeah, I really like them direwolves. They do look nice. So overall, some pretty solid models. I think they're going to look really nice on the table, especially with the current previous stuff that's already been revealed: the Skeleton Warriors, the Zombies, the generic Vampire Lord. What else is there? Blood Knights, the Fellbats.
Yeah. New vampires.
There was a couple of extra heroes as well, wasn't there? There was one that had the rat tails that seems to have disappeared. So I hope that one wasn't a Cursed City model that's now not coming out.
No, I don't think so. I think there's been a lot, and they're just chunking their way through it.
Yeah.
I fully expect to see that come out.
Yeah. But they're actually up for pre-order. Well, they're in two waves then. So we've got one half of it is up for pre-order this Saturday, and it launches on the following Sunday. So it's up for pre-order on the 15th, and it's out on the 22nd. And with these ones, let's have a look what is up for pre-order. You have the Battletome, you've got the skeletons and the zombies. So both of them come in packs of 20, which is nice because you're not...
Yep.
Yeah, boxes of 10 I'm not the biggest fan of, especially when you need big quantities of them. The skeletons, I know you can equip spears or swords to them, so that's quite nice that you've got like multi-part options there. And I'm pretty sure the zombies have different options for each pose as well. So
differing pitchforks and
stuff that's sticking out of them and
yeah.
whatnot. But yeah, no, I think having masses of zombies could be quite nice now because it's not those old comical models that of years gone past.
Absolutely.
The Fellbats are up for order, so 3 big Fellbats, pack of 5 Blood Knights, which I think are going to be very popular. I'm going to go through them in a minute. And then the Vampire Lord with the bats pulling at their hair. And then, as we mentioned, the Mother of Nightmares or the Vengorian Lord dual kit. So, and they actually got dice and War Scroll cards as well. So the dice look actually quite nice. I like those.
Yeah, it's the first time in a while you've looked at the dice and kind of gone, oh,
I could use those. Yeah, they're just normal black and red, black dice with red pips, and then it's got a kind of vampire dragon symbol on the 6. So they do actually look really nice.
And I've seen a few people complain about the price, but you get 20 in it, so it doesn't work out that expensive. Because dice themselves, don't tend to be that cheap.
No.
Unless you're getting the standard white,
20 dice is plenty enough for most people. Okay, you may want 40, but it's not that often that I need more than 20 dice. I know skeletons in the past, you can get them up to stupid amounts of attacks, but even if you get them up to 100 attacks, you're not rolling 100 dice at once because that's just
silly.
Yeah. So wave 1 release, and then I have a feeling next week will be the rest of the bits along with Kragnos. So it will be the rest of the heroes. I'm trying to think what else is actually missing.
So you've got the heroes, you've got the direwolves because they're not part of this. You've got
Radikar and Belladama as well.
Yeah.
So and then the other couple of heroes that have been previewed.
I feel like there's another kit missing as well. Sure, there's something really obvious we're missing, or maybe we're not.
I don't think so. Let's have a look. So there's a couple of pictures of all the kits together. No, I can't think of it. I'm still surprised that they did that shot of all the new models with a zombie dragon in the back or Terrorgeist in the back, and then it had that corpse cart as well. I can't believe that model was still going.
Yeah, corpse cart seems to be there, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's a nice model, but it's showing its age a little bit now.
Yeah, and you've got what's the chariot with all the ghostly knights on it?
The Mortis engine. Oh no, the chariot.
Yeah, where the knights are kind of lifting up into the sky.
Yeah, the Mortis engine. Yeah.
Is that the Mortis engine? Yeah, so you've got that as well. That's in the picture as well.
Yeah, so we'll see. I'm sure it's going to be a great. I can't wait to see people paint it up. I mean, it is kind of what we needed. It's just an updated Legions of Nagash almost, but Soulblight Gravelords.
We want more vampires. Everybody wants vampires.
Definitely.
Who would want vampires?
So that was everything for day 1. And like I said, with the pre-orders happening on Saturday, over the last few days, they have been starting to preview all of the different bits for Soulblight Gravelords. So apparently there's going to be 5 different bloodlines. Interestingly, so this is the thing, I've not seen the Gash mentioned anywhere.
No, and without going in too much into spoilers,
there's
Broken
a reason.
Realms, yeah, there's a reason.
And I saw a couple of people going, "Oh yeah, I'm just going to get Nagash and do this," and I was like, "I don't think Nagash is going to be in it. I think he's going to be not stuck, but I think he's going to be tied to Ossiarch Bone Reapers, and then at some point he'll probably return, maybe bigger and better." Like I said, we don't want to spoil it too much for Broken Realms, but there's a kind of reason that this is Soulblight and not Nagash, Legions of Nagash version 2. So I don't think he's going to be in it. But the rules that they've previewed so far, so what we're going to do, we're going to go through the kind of generic stuff first.
Because just on that, there's also another character from Legions of Nagash that's missing.
Yes.
And it similarly has a valid reason in Broken Realms.
Yes. But yeah, I mean, Arcan is much more tied to Bone Reapers now. Like that is his kind of allegiance. So I'm not surprised he's not in this book, because he is the kind of not the Mortarch of Bone Reapers, because that's Catacross, but he's the kind of the advisor to Nagash and the kind of wizard power for Bone Reapers. So that one's a kind of understandable one, and with this being Soulblight, it makes sense that Manfred and Neferata are in it instead.
Yep.
So yeah, that one I'm not surprised at, but I mean, even in the huge pictures, like Nagash is nowhere to be seen, so I don't think he's going to be in it. So we'll go through the kind of basic rules that they've previewed so far. We'll talk about Blood Knights, because they did a whole article on that, and that's going to be our Drama Gate this week, this episode. And then they've also done today 5 reasons to pledge your allegiance to Manfred von Carstein. So we'll go through that bit as well, because they've previewed another couple of bits of rules there. So they've got Endless Legions. So at the end of your battle shock phase, count a number of enemy units that were destroyed during that turn, and roll a dice. Adding the number of destroyed units to the roll, on a 5+, you can pick one friendly Soulblight Gravelord summonable Deadwalkers or summonable Death Rattle unit in your army that has been destroyed. If you do so, a new replacement unit with half the number of models in that unit is added to your army. Set it up wholly within 12 of a gravesite and more than 9 from enemy units. So it's very much like a Loon Shrine bringing back models, but if you can get a good turn and destroy 2 or 3 units, you're almost getting it on a 2+.
You are, and it's interesting that kind of you get to roll for it whether you destroy somebody or not.
Yes, and it's battle shock phase as well. Well, it says end of your battle shock phase, so you
again.
I suppose it's your battle shock phase, not your opponent's battle shock phase. But you take battle shock both phases, don't you? You
do, but it'd be interesting to see what that means. I wouldn't be surprised if it's only on your turn.
Yeah,
because the Loon Shrine's only on your turn as well, isn't it?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, and that's in the battle shock phase as well.
Yeah, that was to be the way I'd read it. Again, we're looking at rules here that without the full book. We're literally looking at snippets, so we can't get too much into kind of this is how it should work, because you don't really know. With the Loon Shrine, it's actually at the end of each of your turns, so that one's a bit more kind of straight to the point. It's end of your turn, whereas this one's end of your battle shock phase. So
yeah, and again, you don't know how that ties into version 3 as well.
Yes, exactly. Interestingly, that the grave sites are still there, but there's going to be only 2 instead of 4. So in the past, you always used to be able to put 2 on your kind of in your deployment zone, and then 2 kind of mid-table, and you've got a bit more kind of strategic planning, but you've got a bit more kind of security as well. Whereas now you've only got 2, so you're kind of not stuck, but you've got to really think where you want to put those.
True. Again, it depends how they use them. So obviously this is an example of what they're going to use them for, but are you going to limit you to troops only coming out of grave sites, which I think they used to, but we've already seen some rules where the troops didn't necessarily need to come out of a grave site.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering whether or not actually, yes, less grave sites, but actually are they a lot less powerful?
Well, let's talk about deathless minions then, because I think this makes them still quite powerful. I mean, being able to get units back's nice,
Yep.
and that is quite strong. But deathless minions, roll a dice each time you allocate a wound or mortal wound to a friendly Soulblight Gravelord unit wholly within 12 of a friendly Soulblight Gravelord's hero or gravesite. On a 6+, that wound or mortal wound is negated. So
what is it at the moment? Oh,
it's only heroes. It's not gravesites.
So yeah, that makes them a little bit more important.
Yeah.
Kind of you lose that you snipe my heroes and all of a sudden my army falls to pieces kind of style.
Yeah, and you can almost set them up around like your side of an objective almost, and then you've kind of got the 6+ death save.
Yeah.
After during defending an objective, so I think you're going to see some real. I don't suppose tricks because it's an obvious thing that's going to be happening, but yeah, I think you're going to definitely see some strong plays with them. The other thing to note that Deathless Minions has changed. So you used to have a friendly death unit within 6 of a hero. Within 6 of a hero. So being able to do it wholly within 12, you've got a bit bigger distance. I mean, this is more of a change.
Works both ways, though, doesn't it? It's kind of like, yes, you can go all the way to 12, but then you can't string people out.
No.
So
that was one of the issues from Legions and Nagash, because that was built with AOS 2 in it. Was it AOS 2? I'm trying to think now.
Yes, I think it was in 1, but it was similar to this, where it was getting ready for 2.
Yeah.
Because it was before... Was it before Nighthaunt? Yeah. Yeah, it was, because
Nighthaunt
when
came out during, just after 2 launched. So
yes, that's what I was thinking. And it was Nighthaunt that then broke Legions of Nagash by giving you all the Nighthaunt units in better
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that was definitely written with 2 in mind. So this is clearly written with 3 in mind. So yeah.
Yeah. So that's nice. I mean, like I said, the big thing there is the gravesites giving you the extra 6+ save as well, because that is going to be huge for a lot of people. And I think, like I said, there's going to be some definite strong plays there that give you extra bits of power. Now, with Locus of Shaiish is still in there. So this was a Legion of... I'm trying to think what it is now. Legion of Night, I think it was, from... Actually, I think it was just Legions of Nagash had it. It was like Lore of the Vampires, I think it was. So basically, if the unmodified casting roll for a friendly Soulblight Gravelord's wizard attempting to cast a spell from the Lord of the Death Mages or Lord of the Vampires is 9+, and that spell is not unbound, the effects of that spell have been resolved, you can immediately resolve the effects of that spell for a second time. I used to really like this when I played Legions of Nagash. Like, being able to just roll... The fact that it has to be unmodified, so if you get any bonuses for casting, it doesn't matter. You just... If you pop a 9+ on your dice, you're like, get in. I get to do it twice. And there were some quite strong spells in the spell laws that kind of, if you got it off twice, it worked really, really well. So I'm really glad that's back in. Not back in, but I'm glad it's still there.
Stayed there, yeah.
Yeah. Kind of makes it a bit thematical, and it just shows you like the power of Shaiish. So really glad that one's in. And now we've got the cursed line. the cursed bloodlines. So, as we said, there's 5 different ones. You've got Legion of Night, which is the trap layers, and this is led by Manfred von Carstein. They're described as the sneakiest of the 5 bloodlines. Manfred and his dread Abyssal even have a nasty habit of leaping out of combat only to reappear somewhere else entirely. So we're going to go through that in a bit, because this is what was previewed today, going through the Legion of Night. You've got the Legion of Blood, which is known as the classy ones, and this is the one led by Neferata. And this was basically her believing that she's the queen and the outright kind of ruler. Doesn't really kind of say what they do. It basically says like they can take Black Knights as battle line units, which it's okay, unless Black Knights have been like buffed up massively. Like they weren't really taken in the past, so making them battle line isn't going to be that great.
Yeah, it feels like this is going to be the skeletal side of it, isn't it? You know, you've got skeleton warriors, Black Knights. It's going to be that, the Death Rattle Legion style army.
Yeah, definitely. Then you've got the Castali dynasty, and this is the Blood Knights. Basically, Prince Vordry is still in here. So
Yep.
The named zombie dragon lord on...
He survived, hasn't he?
Yeah, vampire lord on zombie dragon, wasn't he? And this is going to be basically battle line Blood Knights, which we're going to talk about as well in a little bit.
Yep.
I think this Legion you're going to see quite a bit in games. There's already been a few of us talking about Blood Knight armies. Could be quite fun to put on the table, especially as we've got plastic kits now. So
Yeah, plastic kits, they look amazing. It's going to be fun. They're going to be expensive, like points wise, so you're not going to have lots of them, but they'll look great.
It will be a kind of...
It is tempting.
Order Draconis dream, player's dream. Now that their army's been wiped out of existence, it will kind of be that.
I kind of like, I've got a paint scheme in mind for it as well if I do go down that route.
Oh, very nice. Then you've got the Avangori dynasty, which is what we talked about before, and this was the one with the the new character, but battle line Terrorgeist and zombie dragons, which is nice. I think again this will be one that you'll see quite a bit, because just being able to take battle line Terrorgeist and stuff, and anyone who's got a Flesh Eater army, you kind of really need to just buy a couple of new heroes and you've got yourself a new army with updated rules. So I expect if I do go down this route at some point, I'll probably do this
when
army.
You go down this route.
Yeah, alright. I know, right, okay, I need to make an addendum, because last episode I said I was sticking to Seraphon, but yeah, it's not happening. I shouldn't have said that when I knew AOS 3 was coming out, like, I'm an idiot. So, I am going to be doing a big Seraphon army, but it's not going to stop me doing other bits. So, I mean, I've got a Flesh Eater army, so adding a couple of models in, just to get a new army, for me, like, I quite like the idea of that. Then you've got the one I can't pronounce, the Wolf Dynasty, the Vikos. I don't know why I struggled pronouncing that dynasty. It's just known as the Wolf Pack. So again, this is where Radicard the Beast and the new Belladama model is. And basically, it just says it's all their kind of connection with the wolves, a bit like what we talked about in the past. Really, it says on the tabletop, the variety of Vikos heroes, including Radicard the Beast and Belladama Volga, all count as generals if taken in this army. That makes them a great option for players who like strong support from leaders and wizards. So it says to me that I was going to say that they could all take command traits, but they can't, because they're named characters. So maybe this is an AOS 3 change that might not give you command traits, but you get an extra potential thing if you've got a general on the table.
Maybe it's just because at the moment it gives you an extra 6 inches for your standard command points,
I suppose, yeah.
command abilities.
Yeah.
The Slanesh have got it as well on one of theirs, haven't they? Where you have multiple generals.
I know the one you mean. Seeker Host, or I think it is. No, not Seeker Host. Invader Host, I think it is. You can take like 3 generals. But they can all take like command traits, but I'm pretty sure they can't be within a certain range of each other, otherwise they kind of cancel each other out.
Yeah, so there's something about that. They kind of fight each other if they're too close or something random. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see how it all pans out, because there's a lot of different ways of doing it, which is great, because it's, you know, a brand new book like this, everybody's excited.
Yeah,
you're not going to see all the same kind of armies straight away. Obviously, rules dependent.
Yeah, I think you still see kind of a few blocks of skeletons and zombies and whatnot, but yeah, there's definitely kind of other lists where you've got that elite list of big hitters. So yeah, it's interesting to see. I'm looking forward, but like I said, the fact that Nagash wasn't mentioned anywhere says to me he's not going to be in it, unfortunately. So let's talk about Blood Knights, and they've got a bit of a buff, I think. It's a bit hard to work out because they've only previewed some of their rules. So this is the thing, Dramagate. Everyone was kicking off about a specific rule in here and what it meant and what you can and can't do and what you can. It's like, wait until the book.
Yes.
Like, they've previewed one little bit of it. Wait until the rest of the War Scrolls revealed and the rules are revealed before.
And the points, as much as anything.
Yeah.
Hey, you know, it could well be a unit of 10 is something like 400 points. Okay, fine. Well, actually, that's probably not so bad. Unit of 5 is 400 points. You know, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, okay.
No one's taking them.
Yeah. Now, maybe that's a bit extreme, but it always makes me laugh when you see these things and all the rules come out and everybody jumps up and down. For me, until I see the points, you know, yes, they could be really powerful, but they could also, you know, you see the rules and everybody goes, oh, that's rubbish. And then you realise the points are next to nothing. And there's a buff from a character with a command ability that does this, that all of a sudden
makes him
that
amazing.
Unit that thinks rubbish is the mainstay of the army, and everybody's complaining that it's broken because there's too many of them.
That's the thing with AOS. There's so many combos out there and so many little things that you go, oh, if I take this and this and this, then I can do that. And just looking at something under the microscope of one little thing isn't going to achieve anything. And that's why it's always said, wait until the book. Like, we're going through and just looking at random bits and we're going, this is nice because this might happen or this can happen, but we're not going, no, that's rubbish, no, that's good. Like, it's pointless speculating until everything's out.
And I always look at it like this. The community articles are great, but they're sales pitches at the end of the day.
Yeah.
You know, and that's fine, that's fair enough. So they're not going to sit in there and say something's rubbish. They're not going to sit in there and say, yeah, they've got these great points, but these things, but actually they're really loads of points. So you've got to take everything they put in there with a pinch of salt.
100%, yeah. So just wait until the book comes out and just enjoy the previews for the time being. And then when the book comes out and you read it, then you might be able to have a bit of a whinge. But that's Dramagate over. That's Dramagate for the episode done.
Yeah. Having said all that, we're both going to go and buy a load of Blood Knights. So,
I'm putting the nail in the coffin. That's it. There you go. Little vampire pun for you there. Yeah. Anyway. So they are 10-inch move, which is the same as before. 3 wounds, which is the same as before. Bravery 10, which is their death unit, so of course there'd be Bravery 10. They're 3+ save now, compared to 4+ before. So, got a little bit of a bonus there. I
feel like saves in general have slowly crept up. You know, we jokingly talked about the 2+ save before.
Yeah.
It does feel like saves in general are slowly creeping up.
I wonder, and this is me just purely speculating now, I wonder whether they're putting in stronger saves to counter some stronger releases already.
Yes.
Things like Caradron, things like Zinc shooting, for example, where actually if you give someone an extra save, it makes them a lot more survivable to those things. Rather than having to nerf all of Caradron, you can then just kind of improve saves so that it puts everything in line. That's me theory crafting.
No, well, and it makes sense. It does. It's that ebb and flow of the game, and that's how it's always been.
Yeah. So they've got the Templar Lance and Blade, or Blade, so you can equip them in either way. It's exactly the same. 1 inch range, 3 attacks, 3 threes, -1 rend, 1 damage, which is exactly the same as before. There's nothing different there. The hooves and teeth of the horses, and as we know in Warhammer Fantasy, the mounts always do more damage than the people on top.
Absolutely.
And because of that, they get an extra attack now. So before it used to be 2 attacks, 4s and 4s, but now it's 3 attacks, 4s and 4s. So that's quite nice. It's a nice little extra chip damage almost.
It is. I suppose my gripe with this is lances being a range of 1 inch.
1 inch range, yeah. That's
And I was just like, Blade should be, and I know it gives you the flexibility, and I like all of that, but lances being 1 inch.
Yeah. It is a pain. It's been a bit of a talking point as well, but unless they change how combat works, and actually the ranges don't matter in AOS 3, I highly doubt it that they would make such a big change like that, but
no, especially, and then you would expect range just to disappear.
Yeah, but stranger things have happened, so you never know. You never know.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, to be fair, it's always been 1 inch range, so it's not like they've kind of nerfed it or anything. So we'll just have to see how it, whether that does make a difference. You can take them in units of 15, apparently. So it does say that every unit gets 1 champion, no matter their size. 1 unit can include up to 15 Blood Knights. And you can take more than 1 standard bearer as a bit of insurance. So it says the champion gets +1 attack, which is obvious. The standard bearer, 1 in 5 models in this unit can be a standard bearer. You can re-roll rolls of a 1 for Deathless Minion battle trait for this unit while it has any standard bearers. I like that because it gives them an extra bit of survivability.
Yeah, so that's your 6+ save,
6
isn't it?
plus save with a reroll 1, so
helps.
It
Definitely helps.
And that banner looks amazing as well. So
it does. I must admit, I looked at the banner and I thought that looks fantastic because I assumed that's printed and you just. But then I'm hoping the kit comes with a blank banner that you can do your own design on.
It probably won't, to be honest.
Yeah, I know. But can live with hope.
Sorry to shut your dreams, but no, I think it will be 1 moulded banner, to be honest, which for a lot of people they'll be thankful with. I know what you mean. For some people they would prefer to have a flat banner. You probably find
just as an option, it would be good as an option just to have, because you don't, you've got 1 unit. Let's say you do a full army and you've got 3 units all with 3 banners.
That all look the same. Yeah, I know.
All look the same. It just feels a bit.
Yeah. Now, one of their special abilities, and this was the thing that everyone started rules lawyering before seeing the rest of the War Scroll / rules. Riders of Ruin. So, in your movement phase, if this unit is within 3 of an enemy unit, it can make a normal move. If it does so, it can pass across other models with a wound characteristic of 3 or less that do not have a mount in the same manner as a model that can fly. After this unit has made a normal move, roll a dice for each enemy unit that has any models passed across by any models in this unit. On a 2+, that enemy unit suffers D3 mortal wounds.
This is them simplifying rules.
Yes. Right, so the people are trying to go, well, does that count as a retreat? Does that mean that we can charge afterwards? Can we, what can you do? If this is all that's in there, I have a feeling it basically counts as a retreat.
It's a normal move. It can make a normal move.
Yeah, but a retreat is actually named as a normal move. A retreat is a version of a normal move in the rules. So it can make a normal move, it can just means that it can fly and it can do some more wounds, but that normal move is a retreat move. That's the thing that everyone's kind of arguing about. But if this is literally it, then yeah, the normal move is still a retreat. But like I said, we don't know. It might have extra bits. Then you can. This unit can still charge if it made a retreat move this turn.
I would be shocked if. I think it just needs an FAQ. I don't think there's going to be any more on the war scroll. I think it will just be this, and I think it will. It's meant to be, my guess. Having no knowledge of the rules writers, but just by the fact they put the rule in, it's meant to allow you to retreat and then charge as such.
That's what I mean. There might be an extra rule that says that this unit can.
But I don't think, I don't think it's meant to allow you to retreat and charge. I think what it means is you just move out of combat. As if it was a normal move, as if it was this. I don't know what the correct phrase is then, their standard move. You just move out of combat if you go over it. I mean, the lovely little bit of text is, Blood Knights trample clean over lesser foes to strike at more worthy challenges. That doesn't really fit with, I retreat and therefore I can't charge.
Well, here you go. The normal rules. Okay, normal moves. Moves made in the movement phase are referred to as normal moves, to differentiate them from charge moves and pile-in moves. A model making a normal move can move a distance in inches equal to or less than the move characteristic shown on its war scroll. When you make so enemy units and retreats. When you make a normal move for a model, no part of the move can be within 3 of an enemy unit. Units starting a normal move within 3 inches of an enemy unit can either remain stationary or retreat. So,
I just don't think that. I don't know. Again, normal move, does that change in the new AO version of AOS?
Yes, that's what I mean. Like, in the new version, it might, but in the current version, clear in the rules, a normal move if you're within 3 inches of a enemy is a retreat.
And like I said, that just doesn't feel.
It doesn't sound thematic. That's what I mean. Like. That's why I'm thinking maybe it has an extra rule saying you can run and charge, or run or retreat and charge, etc. We just don't know, and that's what I mean. Like, there's so many people that are properly arguing on Facebook and Twitter on what the rules are, and it's like, well, just wait until the book comes out and then whinge on if it's still not clear. But it is what it is. It's got Martial Fury, which is add 1 to the damage characteristic of Templar Lancers or Blades if it made a charge, which is what it had before.
Yep.
It's got the Hunger, and this one has changed. So, at the end of the combat phase, if any enemy models were slain by wounds inflicted by this unit's attacks in that phase, you can heal up to D3 wounds allocated to this unit. So in the past, that only used to be 1. So, yeah, D3 wounds is a lot better.
So I'm slightly out of touch with the game, so excuse this. But does that mean you can bring back a model?
No.
Or is this... So, again, this is where it all kind of is a bit weird for me. Why is it healing D3 wounds? Because you can never heal 3 wounds.
Well, no, you can still heal 2. If you've taken 2 damage and you're down to 1 wound, then if you're healing D3, then you can go up to full health. You can't do D2. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. I suppose it just increases the chance of getting you to that.
To fully heal up. So I like it. It's a lot nicer than just healing 1 wound.
Absolutely.
They're meant to be kind of the elite vampires that are all about killing and kind of just surviving and that. So yeah, it makes sense that they heal D3.
And as an opponent, you're always going to want to try and make sure you're not leaving something on one wound.
Yes, yeah. And then they talked about the Blood Knights in using them in the Castali dynasty. And this is whereabouts it kind of confirm that you can take Blood Knights as battle line units, which is what we said.
Yeah.
You'll see quite a few for armies. But what you can do, you can set up Blood Knight units in reserve. So for every unit that you've got on the table, you can then place a unit in reserve. And basically, at the end of any movement phase, you can set up one or more units on the battlefield wholly within 6 of a battlefield edge and more than 9 from enemy units. And at the start of the fourth, so basically you've got to do it by turn 3 or they're dead. I quite like that because it means that they're not just going to get shot off turn 1. Well, some of them won't. But if you've got for each unit you've already set, so you could take 3 units of Blood Knights, 3 units of Dire Wolves, put your Dire Wolves on the table, keep your Blood Knights off the table, and then bring them on.
So because you set one reserved unit in ambush for each unit
you have set up on the battlefield. That's what I was reading. I was like, is it got to be Blood Knights? But no, it just says for each unit that you have set up on the battlefield. So yeah, you could just take, like I said, 3 units of Dire Wolves, some cheap little kind of screens or kind of, like you said, objective grabbers, and then you actually keep your meat and veg of the army in the in reserve, so to speak.
You do. I think one thing I would say is that the setting them up on the edge
of the
at
battlefield
times can be easily blocked. I found that with the eels. The eels get around it because they just move so fast, and you've got, you can add 3, you can add 6 inches to charges. It kind of helps massively. I think, obviously, we again don't know the full set of rules, so maybe there is something there. But I do think if there isn't a bonus to allow them to do it, it could be a bit more tricky to get them in the right places. It's always nice just to leave one there in reserve and just keep your opponent guessing.
Yeah.
It forces them to do things that perhaps they don't really want to do.
Yeah, they've either got to kind of protect their flanks with a unit that they'd prefer to kind of push up the table, because otherwise they're going to hit, almost be sandwiched between 2 units, or they kind of just what do you call it? Just accept that they're going to have that happen to them, or they kind of get rid of a unit by basically screening out the back. So, no, I quite like it. Having it from the edges there's a lot of armies whereabouts you can just teleport them in.
Yeah.
Anywhere on the table. So, yeah, coming on from the side of the table is a bit from a table edge is a little bit like okay. But it doesn't make sense that they would just randomly appear in the middle of the table.
No, and I was thinking you could argue from grave sites, but they're not coming from grave sites. Realistically, no. They're not summoned units. So, no, it makes sense. Gives you that extra option, doesn't it? It's nice to have.
100%. And then they talked about some of the rules that Castali Dynasty units have, and it's called Might of the Crimson Keep. So each time a friendly Castali Dynasty vampire unit destroys an enemy unit, that friendly unit gains the relevant ability below for the rest of the battle. A unit cannot gain the same ability more than once per battle. So, if an enemy unit was a hero or monster, you get bloodied strength, and you add 1 to the damage characteristic of melee weapons used by that unit, excluding mounts. So you don't get damage to horses, unfortunately. Boo.
Yeah, and I think that's as much. This is for all vampires, isn't just for Blood Knights. So
no, yeah.
You kind of Terrorgeists, etc. Getting an extra damage on all their profiles could be
a bit too strong. Just leave that for charging Stonehorns and that's fine. But yeah, I mean, killing a hero or monster, if your opponent like forgets that you've got a unit in reserve, and they keep one of their heroes at the back as a little support hero, and then suddenly you can get into them and charge and get the damage off. Then you've suddenly got damage 2 Lancers or damage 3 on the charge, which is could be really good on Blood Knights. So quite like that one. The monster one, I mean, we are entering the Age of Monsters now for AOS 3, so whether that means we're going to get they're going to become more prevalent, who knows? Would be quite nice, but we'll see. But if the unit had a wound characteristic of 3 or more and was not a hero or monster, you get stolen vitality, and you add 1 to the wound characteristics of that unit. So
that for me is the big one.
That's the big one, and that's where the D3 damage comes in. Because then suddenly you've got
yes,
4 wound Blood Knights.
Fair enough. Yep. No, I'll take it all back.
So yeah, that's a really nice one. I mean, wound characteristic of 3 or more. I'm just trying to think kind of what units.
So you look at trolls, ogres.
Yeah, I suppose. I forget about ogres actually. Being more 3 or more.
Well, no, eels.
Yeah.
I'm looking at my Zinch Enlightened. I'm looking at
Ironjaw Brutes.
Are they 3?
Pretty sure. I'm just quickly checking. Yeah, they're 3 wounds. Gore Grunters.
Yeah.
I expect Stormcast Paladins.
Yeah, and I mean some of the cav, like Stormcast Cavalry.
So yeah, I suppose there is quite a lot of 3 wounds that are not heroes or monsters. So
I want to say Treekin. I mean Treekin.
Kernoff Hunters. Yeah, Kernoff Hunters.
Kernoff Hunters, yeah. Not that you see millions of those these days, but yeah, I think when you think about it, most armies have probably got 1 or 2.
Yeah. So yeah, that should be really good. Add 1 to the wound characteristic is great. I mean, like you said, you talked about this being just a like any vampire unit, and for a Terrorgeist, that one's like okay, 1 extra wound. It's neither here nor there, but actually you add 1 to a unit of 15 Blood Knights, and suddenly you've got 15 extra wounds to deal with.
Makes a big difference.
Yes,
now.
100%. So that one's nice. If the enemy unit had a wound characteristic of 2 or less, you get absorb speed, and you add 2 to run and charge rolls for that unit. So that one can be nice. This is where I thought maybe they might have run and charge, because add 2 to run and charge rolls. I mean, I don't know. I mean, runs
might do. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the interesting thing about these is you're going to get in situations where, dependent on the rule above, around whether it's a retreat or whether it's just a ride through or whatever, potentially you're going to have situations where you've got this unit of Blood Knights, they've not got a lot left to kill off. Do you ride through them into a juicier target, or do you actually do the extra phase to get a bonus?
Well, not even that. If you're stuck in combat with someone and you've got like 2 units within like, I don't know, 7 inches of you that have like 1 or 2 wounds, like left.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You could like do that move through, do your D3 mortal wounds, maybe kill 2 units. If it's a hero and a unit, suddenly you've got 2 bonuses on them. So.
And how does this work for things like battle shock? So if you charge into somebody and you don't wipe them out and then they get battle shocked off, do they get classed as having killed them?
No, because it's each time a
battle
friendly unit destroys an enemy unit. It's battle shock that kills them. It's not that unit. So yeah, that will be. If anything, I like that because it makes you think more. Oh, I'm just going to make that unit immune to battle shock this turn. Because then you think, oh, actually, they're going to be fighting them in a minute, and they're going to wipe them out and then get buffed up. You might actually go, you know what? I'm going to take the hit. They're not going to be immune, and let the whole unit run, but it means that they're not going to get that bonus.
Yeah. There's things in there that become interesting.
Definitely makes you think. I really like it. Like, it's, from what I've seen so far, I really, really like Blood Knights.
Yes. I think there's a lot of people that wouldn't disagree, and I think, again, even before any of this, because they were always so expensive and because they were out of so many people's reach, there were a lot of people that said, "Give us cheaper Blood Knights and we'll buy them." Before any of this, so you're going to see a lot of them. I'm very tempted to get some.
Yeah, you had a lot of people like converting. I mean, I've got some converted from what was it? The old Dragon Princes.
Yep.
And some like bodies on that, and what do they use? Spite Revenant heads, because they're very kind of vampiric style.
Yeah.
And I've got like a unit of 5, but yeah, when you see these units, it's like, well, yeah, I think a lot of people are just going to want to have like I said, a couple of Vampire Lords on Terrorgeists, on Zombie Dragons, and then a load of Blood Knights. Nice and easy.
Direwolves running around.
Push it around the table. I mean, Blood Knights at the minute are 180 points for 5. So, like you said, it's kind of price dependent. I have a feeling they will probably stay at 180 points. They've got +1 save. I forgot to mention the old Blood Knights. They got +1 save against Ren 0. So I don't know how that kind of works when you've got a 3-up save. I don't know what the difference is, but I think 180 points would probably be a solid option. Looking at 360 for 10.
Oh, absolutely.
What you're looking at? I'm doing quick maths. 1,080 points for 30 Blood Knights. A couple of Vampire Lords for 400 each. It's 800.
Direwolves, capture some objectives.
Direwolves.
Yeah.
There you go.
Sold.
Like 2k. Yeah. You don't know whether there's a battalion in there that. Well, we don't know whether battalions are staying around, so.
Yeah. And we don't. Well, we kind of. We do, don't we?
What?
No, the battalions are gone from match play.
Rumours at the minute. That's what we talked about in episode 1. It was part 1. Sorry.
Part 1.
Rumours that the kind of battle tone battalions are disappearing and core battalions are coming in, but it's not been kind of 100% confirmed. So we don't know. We shall see. But overall, nice and solid Blood Knights, I think. So before we get out of here, let's talk about Manfred and the Legion of Night.
Yes.
So they did a little article that said 5 reasons to pledge your allegiance to Manfred. And the first one is saying you'll always have plenty of support. So basically, in the first turn, or first battle round, you add 1 to save rolls for attacks that target friendly Death Rattle and Deadwalker units. I quite like this.
Painful now. That's gonna be painful. It stops the alpha strikes. It's Karajan Overlords of this world are not going to be happy. Anything like that, you can just fill it, can't you?
The one thing I'm not sure on though, at the minute, zombies don't have a save. So does that mean they're getting a 6+ save? Otherwise, +1 to a save roll of nothing is nothing.
Yeah, no, could be.
I mean, okay, the corpse cart might fit into the Deadwalker's keyword.
Yeah.
But it would seem weird that they would get it.
Exactly.
Not zombies. So I have a feeling zombies might get a 6+ save. Death Rattle 5 up, 4 up maybe. No, 4 up going to a 3 up is way too strong. 5 up to a 4 up for turn 1.
4 up for Skeleton Warriors is going to be.
Yeah.
That's going to be strong. I know it's only turn 1, so maybe balances it out. But
yeah. Then probably models coming back from grave sites and heroes. So Yeah, could be quite fun. um, the next one is you'll always stay one step ahead, and this is the Ageless Cunning ability. And basically, this is a little bit like the Blood Knights ability.
Yeah.
Instead of setting up a Legion of Night unit on the battlefield, you can place it to the side and put it in ambush. You can do it for one unit for every unit that's on the battlefield. At the end of a movement phase, you set it up, hold it within 6 of a table edge, more than 9 from enemy units. So exactly the same as the other one. The fact that it's all Legion of Night units is nice because you can put in some random things. I don't know. I can't think off the top of my head what you would put in, like in reserve, but there probably is some kind of weird things that you could do. Unit of 40 unit of 40 skeleton warriors that just come in from the back.
It keeps your opponent honest. It gives you. I mean, you could just put 5 dire wolves in just so that you can get them where you want them to go and cap an objective. You could put, I did a couple of monsters in. I mean, yeah. Terrorgeist that just appears on the flank.
What size is the Terrorgeist base? Is it more than 6 inches? No, 6 inches is quite big, isn't it? So yeah, you probably could fit. It's 100 mil base, isn't it? 6 inches is yeah. You could easily fit that in. So yeah, you could have a surprise Terrorgeist. It does actually say that Legion's Night armies can take Vargeist as battle line units, so you could have a unit of Vargeist in the back. That could definitely be one that would be quite nasty. Because I'm surprised they're not taken a lot at the minute. Because Vargeist at the current time are actually pretty good. You know what? They would work quite well in the previous thing we were talking about because they've got the vampire keyword. So at the minute they've got 3 attacks, 3s and 3s, -1 rend, 2 damage.
It's not bad.
4 wounds and a 5-up save with a 12.
Did you say they got the vampire keyword?
They've got the vampire keyword.
So that kind of fits into what we were just talking about because they'll then get that.
You get all of them bonuses. Suddenly you've got 5 wound models that have damage 3 with +2 to run and charge. Yeah, that could be quite nice if you put them in that in the Knights of the Castellan Dynasty one. Could be quite nice. But yeah, they're battle line for Legion to Knight, so you don't always have to rely on skeletons and zombies. So that's nice. It says there's boundless opportunities for advancement, and this is the above suspicion ability. If this general set up an ambush using the Ageless Cunning battle trait that we just mentioned, at the end of the movement phase, you can set up this general anywhere on the battlefield more than 9 inches from enemy units, instead of wholly within 6 of the battlefield edge.
So that's going to be good. So, I mean, this is what you're looking at, Manfred, aren't you? Just appearing.
Yeah, I don't know whether you'd put Manfred in reserve to then appear. Like, Manfred's more of a... Well, he's quite a strong caster. I mean, he can be fighty. Or, well, it all depends. He might get a completely brand new war scroll.
I was going to say, I'm expecting a new war scroll, so who knows what he's going to be. But even then...
Actually, no, sorry, you can't do that. Because if this is a command trait, Manfred can't take it.
Is this a command trait?
If this general is set up using...
Doesn't say it's a command trait. It says using the battle trait above, but doesn't say this is a command trait.
That is true. We'll have to wait and see. Wait until they're bit.
Yeah, but interestingly, it says Manfred appreciates a go-getter more than most. As if maybe he doesn't. I don't know, but yeah.
Helps themselves that don't hesitate to take advantage of every opportunity for self-advancement. Yeah, I like this. If it was a command trait rather than a battle trait, say, and then you'd have to take it on a, I don't know, Vampire Lord and Zombie Dragon, for example. I would have liked it that he could then take other units with him.
Yes,
the whole
I
thing
know
was
what
meant
you
to be
mean.
it's all tricksy, and he's like he's more kind of cunning, and it's like, aha, here's my army, rather than he turns up anywhere on the table and then everyone else is from the sides going, hi,
Yeah.
wait for me. But no, I like that. Like you said, it depends whether it is part of just the allegiance abilities, and if it is, yeah, Manfred might pop up and just go, you right? See what's happening. But yeah, I think you do miss out on his spell casting, which can be quite good. And I'm pretty sure, well, in the old War Scroll, you can definitely get bonuses for attacking if he did spell casting. So you kind of need him to do the spells to then become stronger.
Yeah.
So yeah, that would be an interesting one. They previewed one of the artifacts of powers, so it does say each dynasty has access to their own artifacts of powers. This one is the Gem of Exsanguination. I've got it right.
Brilliant pronunciation.
Thank you very much. I'm getting better. By the time we hit about episode 100, I might be able to kind of just roll stuff off my tongue quite easily. This says once per battle at the start of the combat phase, you pick one enemy unit within 6 of the bearer and roll a dice. On a 1, nothing happens. 2 to 5, you suffer. That unit suffers D3 mortal wounds, and on a 6, it suffers D6. Nah, it's okay.
Pretty standard, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's nothing you're
2
gonna write
plus
home about.
D3, and then yeah, you've got a 1 in 6 chance to either doing nothing or D6. So it's okay, but you just don't know what the other options are. So we don't know. And then the last bit is your boss is always there when you need him. So this previews one of the rules for Manfred, and this is Mortarch of Night. And it says at the start of the combat phase, if this model, so this is Manfred himself, if this model is within 3 of any enemy units, you can remove this model from the battlefield and set it up again anywhere on the battlefield more than 9 from enemy units. So this is nice and tricksy, and I think you're going to see a lot of annoying people thinking, I've got him now, I can tag him, and then he's just like, nah, you're right, I'm just going.
Yeah, and that kind of then fits with that other piece of he's able to deploy anywhere. So if you think about it, he can deploy where he wants, he can go and target something, and then he can jump back out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if he goes in and completely whiffs, and he's like, oh, right, I'll just pull you out. Because he's going to have some healing abilities or something of sort, I would have thought.
No, you wouldn't be able to do that because this is at the start of the combat phase. So
yes, but my point is, he goes in, if he completely whiffs, yes, he's going to take some stuff back, but as long as they don't kill him outright...
Oh, then next combat, yeah.
Next combat phase, he's off.
Yeah.
Because it's not even your combat phase.
Yeah, I know what you mean. So yeah, you can kind of go in, fight a bit. Then if you know it's your turn and they've not, or even if it's their turn, they've not got a way of getting rid of them until combat, then you can just go, no, actually I'm just going to go over there and then go do my thing.
Yeah, and what's worse is you're going to have situations where you might not have anything on an objective. It might be clear, but you know, your late game, you can't get back to it. Manfred's on maybe 1 wound. Do you charge him or not?
Yeah.
Because if you charge him, he's just going to skip off.
Yes.
But then, hey, you can't. Yeah, it's just, that's horrendous. If you think about it, it's going to be that point of you literally, other than shooting, you have to ignore him.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, if it's your opponent's turn and you're fighting Gristlegore, Idenef turn 3.
This is assuming, and this kind of suggests that it's still there. Does version 3 still have this start, middle, and end?
I think it will, because this has been built with AOS 3.
Yeah. So it suggests that it does, doesn't it?
Yeah. Actually, slow motion wouldn't work, because even if it says you fight at the end of the turn...
Yeah, this isn't the fighting bit.
It's just at the start of the combat phase. So
yeah. There'll be some things, like you say, Deepkin turn 3 or turn 2 if they flip the tides and what have you. But yeah, it's It's that late game thing
Yeah.
where you kind of like, if I charge him, well, even better. Like, there's that side to it. But if you're Manfred and you want to leapfrog across the table, you just charge into something
and then disappear.
Then you just, like, you want to get somewhere. There's no way you can get there. You just like, fine. I'm just gonna charge into this unit that I have no intention of even attacking,
and then get onto
and then I'm just going to go all the way over there on that objective. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Game 1. It's definitely something you're going to see a lot of, and it's something to watch out for when you're playing against him.
100%. I'm surprised that. Well, I'm not surprised because the Start Collecting Skeleton Horde box set has been discontinued.
Yes.
So I don't know whether they'll be getting a rebox of this or whether they just release them as it is. Because that box was a good way of just actually getting the model at the same or cheaper price, I think it was. So, if people are wanting to start a Soulblight army, maybe look through your local stores and see if they've got any. Because otherwise, I have a feeling he will get just re-released as a standalone figure now.
Yeah, and the assumption is that at the time we thought perhaps there's a new model coming, but I'm pretty sure we would have seen it by now if there was.
Oh yeah, 100%. I can't see them doing that. I mean, Arcan's still kind of in Bone Reapers, and they couldn't just
do one without the rest.
Yeah, without the rest. So no, it's very much staying the same model. I mean, the artwork, he looks exactly the same as well on that model. So
yes.
Overall, I think it's quite solid at the minute from what they've been previewing. I did have a little bit of a worry with Soulblight because we are in a shooting meta, so to speak, at the minute, with KO and Tzeentch and Seraphon being very strong at the minute. So I was a little bit worried that they were going to kind of almost come out at the wrong time, if that makes sense. But from what I've read so far, they do look quite nice. But again, as we've kind of stressed quite a bit, that they are very much a wait until the book comes out because you just don't know what else is going to be in there. I'm surprised they haven't had any endless spells or scenery pieces though.
Scenery pieces are great. Get grave sites, isn't it? So they kind of back themselves into a bit of a corner there initially. So that doesn't really surprise me. When we were talking about grave sites before, I was thinking about that. Endless spells is a funny one, because I would have thought you get something, considering they are meant to be pretty magic heavy.
Yeah, I know the Endless Spells was a part of the Soul Wars and the whole Necroquake going off. We had someone in the club ask, is Endless Spells not a thing anymore going into 3? But I think they still will be because you've got the father and daughter witch hunters who specialise in hunting Endless Spells. So, I fully expect they will be a thing going forward. So I am very surprised that they didn't get any. In the same way, Seraphon and that didn't get any, and they're meant to be a really strong magic army. It's a weird thing because, like you said, there's these strong magic armies that just don't get them, and then you've got other armies that do get them that don't make sense. Yeah. So, it is a shame, but I'm very much looking forward to getting the book. Whether we do a mini Battletome review. Not in the same length as Lumineth, but do a mini one going through it, maybe. Could be one for a future episode. We shall see.
Watch this space. Yeah. I'm very much on the fence. I kind of have, throughout the week, swung between ordering and not ordering on Saturday. So, who knows? I may well end up with a massive order on Saturday, or I might not.
I'll be ordering the book. It's just to add to the collection, but no, I'm not getting any models yet. Keyword yet.
Yet.
I have just signed up for an event in June, but no, it's too soon to do a new army for that, I think.
Yes, because list was 7th,
List is 7th, so
so there's enough time to do it.
first wave would be out on the 22nd. Second wave, like we said, would be on the 29th, and then that gives me a week to do a list, and then another with the events on the 12th. So yeah, we're looking at almost 1, 2, 3 weeks. It's probably not enough time. I could do it, but I just
Seriously, for you, 3 weeks is not enough time.
No, I'm not going to.
Our listeners do not believe you.
No, I promised this year I was going to be good, so I am going to be good. I don't know what I am taking to that event yet, but we shall see.
Guaranteed Soulblight.
No, if I did it, it would be the Blood Knights, but I just don't think I want to build and paint or buy 30 or 40 Blood Knights at the minute.
As much as that, but you said it yourself. If you wanted to do it, you could do it with the Terrorgeists.
Yeah.
You could always do that, but time will tell. I'm very much on the fence as to where I'm going. Which direction am I going in? If I do go on the 12th, I might take my Nighthaunt and kind of say goodbye to version 2 the same way I started it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Soulblight is tugging a tug that, and I've still got my half done squigs, so that they were my 2 that off my head.
Yeah. No, it's a bit weird because AOS 3 is coming out, so I don't want to just splurge a load of money on a new army now when I know there's stuff that I definitely want, like, coming in the next few weeks, and also Croak will be coming out soon, and Kragnos and all of them bits
we
as
said
well.
in part 1, and that and I've kind of swung back again. As I say, throughout the week I've been swinging one way or the other. It kind of the announcement of 3 made me pause on the whole Soulblight side, because I didn't want to go in on Soulblight only to find out that actually
those rules changed that and that. Yeah.
But just the other side of the box is some amazing set of kit of something I really want.
Yeah.
So time will tell.
We will see. But let's get out of here because it has been a mammoth episode. Obviously, that was going to be the case when you have a Warhammer Fest with AOS launches and AOS 3 being announced, so I kind of didn't expect anything less. We will be back in probably a couple of weeks' time to go through some more bits and pieces, like together, but I am also interviewing a few different people in the coming weeks, so we'll also have...
He's leaving me, people. He's leaving me.
I am. I'm on the search for a different host after you said you didn't have any AOS artwork in your room. So
that was it. That was
I'm
the
doing
trigger.
Interviews. That's what it is. No, we've got some special guests. We've got Andy Curry, who is the Scottish Six Nations team captain. So that should be quite nice. We're talking all things Six Nations. We've got Kerry Robson from the Hobby Room. So that's talking about streaming and how to start streaming and everything like that. We have Nathan Watson talking about Bellicor and Legion of the Chaos Ascendant from the Wrath of the Everchosen book. And we're going to be talking about like whether books like that have any place in AOS version 3 going forwards. And I'm trying to think what else we've got. I told you I'm going to be busy. I need to get a replacement. I'm also doing a mini episode with Simon, one of our club mates, who's probably a quicker painter than me.
I'm not saying something
At the minute, because I'm just flittering between projects, but no, he is a stupidly fast painter, and he gets really good results. So we're going to do a kind of mini little hobby episode on how to speed paint and things like that. So be on the lookout for that. We've got lots planned over the coming weeks, and we will obviously be back together as well, going in the lead up to AOS 3. It's going to be an exciting few weeks, months. We don't know how long. We shall see.
Absolutely. Exciting times ahead.
Definitely. But if they want to catch you on social media, on Twitter and Instagram, how can they find you?
At martinswaffield.
And I am at Tales of Wargames, and we've also got the Tales of Wargames YouTube channel with painting videos and all the different podcasts and everything that we do. So until next time, take care, and we will see you soon.
Good night.